After winter holidays and New Year's, racing fans and racing drivers alike always look towards Daytona to signal the start of a new racing year. But before the big 24 comes for production car, the raw 2.4 hours of production based solo driver endurance action. And we bring it to you here on HJBC, a Team Huge Ass presentation, the HJ Raw before the 24. I'm David Haynes, and joining me is going to be Aaron Thacker for what's going to be an interesting race. 3 different classes out there, Aaron.
Yeah, David, we have 3 different classes out here, and my goodness, am I excited for this race. We've got the TCR Audi, we've got a Mustang, and then we have the community favorite, the Mazda MX-5. David, we've got 43 cars out there blasting some laps around here. We've got just under 5 minutes left, some good laps going down, but my goodness, is this going to be a lot of fun. Almost just a hair under 2.5 hours of some fantastic 3-class racing here at Daytona International Speedway.
Yep, exactly. 10 minutes of solo driver qualifying is what is underway right now. And the first flying laps just beginning to come in.
Yeah, I'm checking the timetables here. Right now in our fastest class is going to be that TCR class. We've got Dylan Sharman with a pretty quick lap with a 1:57.2. Just behind that in the Mustang, we've got Nils Sindikowski with a 2.02 in the Mustangs. And our fastest Miata right now is Justin Brunner with a 2:10. So, David, you're really seeing a nice separation in the lap times here. The TCRs and the 1:57s, Mustangs 2:02s, and that good old Mazda running about 2:10s. Track temperature right now, a very semi-steamy 96 degrees. So I imagine that's going to warm up a little bit, but nice overcast temperatures, 74 degrees, David. So some good laps out there. Let's keep our eyes on the screen.
Yep, 5:30 in the afternoon in the session time right now, and we're going to be racing towards just before sunset. So we do expect the track might grip up, get a little bit faster through the race. Of course, the big talking point, I think, is always the slipstreaming on the high banks, and every class going to need at least one pit stop. There's a couple with question marks. Can you make it with only one pit stop? And that's really the TCR class, where they're right on the limit of being able to do an hour, 10 minutes to a tank of fuel. And if you're not in a slipstream around Daytona, your fuel consumption quite heavy, a lot of time wide open throttle on that big Florida banking.
Yeah, you bet it. These guys are going to be riding through, 2 very big sections on this track. They got NASCAR 1 and 2, and they've got the full NASCAR 3 and 4, and just a little bit of the trioval here. So, yeah, David, lots and lots of time with that foot to the floor. And if you can find yourself a drafting partner, maybe save yourself a few, a few hundreds on the fuel, maybe some of the lap times, and maybe find yourself a drafting partner early on in this race. But yeah, I think the TCRs may see some of that best advantage, but the Mustangs definitely not a lot of fuel savings with that big guzzling V8, and the Miata, not so much savings there, because you've really got to have that thing down to work through these bankings. David, just under 3 minutes left. What are you seeing on the timing screen?
Well, a lot of our TCR drivers have completed their 2 laps. There's only a couple more drivers still with the time to set. Giovanni Romano, Michael Derby, Francisco Jose Romero. Giovanni Romano might be one to watch and see if he can improve his time about 2/3 of the way around a lap. Simon Trendell makes his first impression in the Team Chimera car on the timesheet. He'll just squeeze in another lap in qualifying, trying to improve out of 7th. And of course, since this time last year, the iRacing Global Mazda MX-5 Cup received a bit of an increase to the rev limit, received the bump of power in line with the ND2 specification of that race car. Makes them a little quicker around here, which I'm sure is nice. Also makes them a little bit thirstier. And what was a pretty wide open fuel window 12 months ago might need just a little bit more management this year.
Yeah, they definitely are. We're going to ask our producer to cut down to car number 37, Kane Halliburton. He is running a lap here. He's coming through NASCAR 3 and 4 right now. Let's just watch some of these speeds here. We just watched this Mazda really, as you mentioned, getting thirsty here. Oh, and David, he's going to abort that lap, so I apologize for that. But yeah, so these guys, these Mazdas, David, what's some of the top speeds here with these Mazdas? Are we looking 120, 125 miles an hour?
I'm not sure in those units. I just knew that last year they were just getting up towards about 200 kilometers an hour. Now, without a slipstream, they can definitely hit 210. So they've received an extra 6 miles an hour or so at the end of that pit straight. That certainly keeps them a little bit closer in pace to the Mustangs. It makes it a little bit harder for the Mustangs to get past them through traffic, particularly I'm thinking through the infield, maybe powering off some of the horseshoe turns. It'll be a little bit harder for the Mustangs to get past those Mazdas. And of course, traffic in any endurance race is always the word. And with the staggered start we're going to have, it might only be 10 or so laps, maybe less, for the TCR leaders start catching up to those Mazdas. And we hope everyone gets cleanly through that traffic. But it's always an opportunity for something to go wrong and for the lead to change. Speaking of the lead changing, Simon Trendell leaving his flying lap right till the end to put himself on the overall pole in the TCR class. He's found a bit of pace with the continually cooling track right at the end after everyone else had completed their laps. He snatches pole position, but only by 200ths of a second. 10 seconds left in qualifying. A couple drivers out there, I think, using this for extra practice.
Yeah, I'm trying to find some of those extra cars, and the one car I thought I saw out there was Justin Hall, and Justin Hall looks to have pulled it in along with Kane Halbert. So, David, I think our field is set here.
Yep, it certainly is. That's qualifying done. The driver's now going to start forming up on the backstretch behind the iRacing Porsche pace car. They'll do about half a lap before that car pulls in and we get racing. Our class leaders in each class should stagger out a little bit. So we'll see a TCR start, then a Mustang start, then a Mazda start. And of course, a big thanks to our race steward and driving observer, Chris Flamion, who is out there keeping his eye on everything, being in contact with the drivers, making sure they do everything right. So our grid is in TCR on pole, Simon Trendell. He's going to line up on the front row on the inside. On the outside of him is going to be Dylan Sharman. Next row back, Giovanni Romano and Brandon Hawken. Behind that, fifth, Jack Sedgwick, then Michael Derby, then Remy David, Francisco Jose Romero starting out of 8th in that class. Daniel Thompson has 9th, Paul Mazia in 10th, Tom Ellison in 11th, Michael J. Fowler in 12th. Nicholas Sykes qualified 13th, and Matthew Warner, I think, will not be taking the start, had to pull out during practice. So for our Mustang field, I'll throw it over to you, Aaron.
Yeah, we've got our P1 spot going to Daniel Rush in with a 202.84. That's a very speedy time, followed by Nils Sinkowski, Alex Albert, Jorge Siligo. Apologize with some of these names for the first time. We're just reading here. Justin Hall, Alex Cofford, Andrew Fawcett, Jake Johannesson, Alexander Bueller, Marcus G. I'm not even going to do a disservice to him there. Aaron Leese and Lee Mohelman. Rounding out our Mustang field, David, and quickly work through our fairly large Miata field here.
Yep, the most popular class and maybe the easiest one to get into here has been that Mazda MX-5. They're going to be a slipstream battle and an interesting one to watch. Justin Brunner is on pole, Clifford Eben, Big C alongside him, Travis Schwenke in third, John D. Allen out of fourth, Juan Manuel Fernandez in fifth, Saradov in sixth, seventh, Andrew Archer, eighth, Nicholas Isidrio, Derek Holland in ninth, Mikey Blanchett in 10th, 11th, Erasmus Larson, Kane Halliburton out of 12th, Nick Harwood 13th, Mehdi Alfati 14th, Robert Nowak 15th, and Lucas Krisafi 16th. So the RKE Racecraft Esports guys starting from the very back of the pack there. TCR field rolling behind the pace car, getting ready to start. The field will be under the control of Simon Trendell. He'll have the option about when he chooses to jump. We're looking forward to this one.
Yeah, we are looking forward to this one. Now, we're always wondering who is going to behave themselves and who's going to misbehave on the start. The Mustang guys looks like they're living themselves a nice gap, and I think the Miata guys are also living a nice gap. So, David, we hate to always say that there's always going to be a turn one incident, but this is a very tricky area here with a nice wide entry into turn one, but it bottlenecks very quickly into that very first chicane. So, hopefully these TCR boys can behave themselves. We get a clean start, keep the Mustang field back there, keep the Miata field back there, and let's keep some clean racing, David, as we're about to get this 2 hours of HJ Roar underway.
Yeah, so for 2020, the first HJ event, the HJ Roar is go. Simon Trendell puts the power down early in his Audi, gets away, and Giovanni Romano off the second row on the inside. Good jump from him. That's going to move him up into second. So Simon Trendell is away and in the lead. The battle in TCR is behind him. Let's look at the Mustang. Daniel Rash leading that one from pole position as well. A couple of drivers dropping down some spots in the background. Lee Mullerman losing out a tiny bit. Alex Coffard, one of the big gainers there.
Yeah, we got watching some gainers here. Alex Coffard up 3 spots already. We've got another gainer, Alexander Bueller, up 2 spots. So we're watching this field work their way through, and it looks like everybody seems to be clean. And David, we do have one car slow here. Let's couldn't quite see who that was, but this TCR field is making their way very quickly through this. But let's check up on our Miata field as they're just now entering the International Horseshoe for the first time.
Yep. Justin Brunner leading that field ahead of Clifford Eben. Not a whole lot of changes in the MX-5s just yet. They'll be trying to form up, pack up, save maybe a little bit of fuel to cut down the time in their pit stop.
Yeah, so we are watching the TCR field make their way through NASCAR 1 and 2. Looks like Simon Trudell is making his way into the chicane for the very first time. Very controlled entry there, watching the rest of the group kind of work their way through. Everybody gets a little bit tight. Oh, we got Michael Derby going a little bit wide there. Michael Derby really stacking up the field right there. Jake Sedgwick and Giovanni Romano on the outside getting all stacked up, where Michael Derby did not take the chicane as well as he wanted to. As we're going to go side by side into NASCAR 3 and 4 here, coming across the line for the second time.
Yeah, indeed. It'll be 1 lap scored. Simon Trendell still leading. Jack Sedgwick trying to move his way up. He's door-to-door with Michael Derby.
Yeah, he's doing it with Michael Derby. Michael Derby has the preferred line here. We watched Giovanni Romano get a bit of a wiggle. Jack Sedgwick couldn't quite get the job. Excuse me, Jack Sedgwick couldn't get the job to Giovanni Romano. Jumps back in line. So this front group very competitive. But right now we're watching Brandon Hawken and Dylan Sharman really going at each other with a massive draft going in there. And Simon Trendell has lost his big lead as these two have really pushed all the way through back up to the lead. David, it looks like we all got a pretty good battle for our Miata crowd back there.
Yeah, indeed, Aaron. Close racing in all of the classes. Of course, that's what we expect from Daytona.
Yeah, we're checking on our Miata group here right now. Justin Brenner in P1, Travis Schwenke in P2, and Clifford Eben in P3. This group running nice and tight. Everybody's looking like they're being pretty responsible at this point. Just probably settling in. We're just 6 minutes into this race. We've got a lot of racing to go. Checking timing and scoring. We just really have battles all over the place, but I want to stay with this Miata group because we really enjoy seeing these cars work this infield. A little bit of drifting, tons of trail braking. As we watch Clifford Eben again try to get a little tighter on Travis Schwenke.
Yeah, Eben's lost 1 position since the start, but there's a bit of a 4-car breakaway going on there. Brunner, Schwenke, Eben, and John D. Allen in sort of behind that in that class. Juan Manuel Fernandez trying to keep with them. But I think if there's any class where staying with your pack is important, it'll be these little MX-5s.
Yeah, for sure. As we were talking about the start of the race, I was mentioning what kind of speeds these guys are pulling. I'm watching Clifford Eben right now hitting 129 miles an hour just before ending the bus stop with a nice draft. I'm probably going to tack on another 1 or 2 miles an hour on top of that. So these Miatas really get some good speeds. Watch Clifford Eben really kind of short track it to the bus stop there. Man, that looks like it's fun to drive down there. Let's see what else is going to check. Because like our TCR group continues to be extremely tight. Let's go back up to that TCR group there.
Yep, certainly. Team Chimera, Simon Trendell still leading. He's not been able to shake Dylan Sharman or Brandon Hawken, and a tiny bit of a gap to Jack Sedgwick. Jack Sedgwick knows how to drive these TCR cars amongst a pack, so he'll be trying to keep with those top 3 guys. And even on a shorter track, these TCR cars, very draft dependent, very hard to shake someone who's within your speed. So I don't think Simon Trendell will be getting away into the sunset anytime soon. If anything, I think all these drivers here in TCR will be thinking about that fuel consumption because it'll be such a stretch to make this race on only one stop in this class. Dylan Sharman in second closes up right. I don't think wants to make the move though.
No, he doesn't want to make the move, but he is definitely fastest car on track. He's got the fastest lap of the race with the 1:57.8. Watch two different lines going there. Simon Trindle taking a bit of a wider arc versus Dylan Sharman going pretty tight on that. But we see the draft is going to come into play here as we watch Jake Cedric back in P4. His slowly working his way back up to these guys. I think that top three, they're all going to fall in line. No real sense of urgency in passing at this point because we're just under 10 minutes left in this race. And we're watching Jake Cedric catch up to these guys and a bit of a throttle lift. Yeah, David, I think these guys are just going to ride along for a little bit. No sense of urgency here. As we're watching, again, this top group here, Dylan Sharman took turn one pretty wide. Brandon Hawken gave it a bit of a look, but Dylan Sherman closed the door right back up. And it looks like we already have someone in the car. It's car number 40. That is a TCR car. The TCR car is in the pits. Car number 40. That is Daniel Thompson. I have to check timing and scoring to see what has happened there. But yeah, he started in P13 and he has just dropped all the way back. So possibly a crash, possibly a technical issue, but we have unfortunately lost Daniel Thompson, who started out in kind of the middle of the field here. So unfortunate, we've already seen one car out. We're going to take a quick break and we're going to do a little immersion here. We're going to have our producer hop in one of these cars and drive around and enjoy some hot laps here at the Roar, or the HJ Roar 2.4.
Back now at the HJ Raw before the 24. Going to go through a top 5 rundown in each class as the TCR leaders start to catch a couple Mazdas. Simon Trendell leading there, still towing along Dylan Sharman, Jack Sedgwick, Brandon Hawken, Tom Ellison in that lead pack. Same too for Michael Derby, Giovanni Romano. Aaron Thacker, what are you seeing in the other class?
It's another pretty good mix-up here. Daniel Brosh, P1 in the Mustangs. Nils Sinkowski in P2. Alex Albert, P3. Jorge Salago in P4. Alex Crawford, P5. Andrew Fawcett, P6. Justin Hall, P7. Jake Johansson, P8. Alexander Bueller, P9. And Marcus G running out the top 10 with Aaron Lease and Lee Mohammed running out that top group, David. We're really starting to see some of these groups mix up on track too, but that Miata group is still running super tight. Who do you see out there in the lead?
Got a bit of a 4-car breakaway there. It's led by Justin Brunner, towing along Travis Franke, Clifford Eben, and John D. Allen. Hard to say who's in the best position when fuel saving matters so much here. You might not actually want to be the leader right now, but you definitely want to be a part of that lead pack. Leading the second pack of MX-5s is Sarah Dove, and that is a real pack of MX-5s as our TCR leader works his way through as well. A couple of panels rubbing, but hopefully not too much drama going on there.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm going to ask our producer to go down to this Mustang group, P1, P2, and P3 with Alex Albert hunting down Daniel Roche and Nils Sinkowski. So these Mustangs are pretty quick. Everybody in this group is getting some solid distance. Watch Alex Albert making a bit of a look on Nils going down there, getting ready to head onto NASCAR 1 and 2. So very tight bunch with this Mustang group. I want to say the TCR cars are spreading out a little bit. Miatas are obviously pretty close, but this front group here, these Mustangs, these guys are looking pretty racy as they're getting mixed up a little bit with some of these TCRs. Watching again, battle for P1 and P2 and then Mustangs. So Daniel Rash still holding off Nils. Again, both these guys have gained positions from where they are. Excuse me, they have maintained positions from where they started. And Nils started P1, and Daniel Rash started P1, and Nils started P2. Really having to watch a couple different lines going through the bus stop there. With the Mustangs, you really have to drive the car with the rear wheels. That rear tire, rear drive, a high horsepower Mustang can really help you rotate the car, but you got to be very careful. You drop a tire in the grass, it can really send you flying to the outside wall. So watch Nils dump that nose just into the backside of Daniel Rash, drafting as much as they can. Some really big speeds with these Mustangs, 147 miles an hour as they cross the start-finish line.
Certainly pick up a lot of speed in the draft. Tiny bit of bump drafting going on in some places, but not too much. Good to see our leaders keeping things calm, keeping them settled. And I think a lot of it might kick off once we get to about halfway point in the race and they take their one and only pit stop.
Yeah, I think we're just now 20 minutes into this race. We're probably still quite a bit out from any sort of pit work. And we had an issue with car number 37, Kane Halliburton, has smacked into the wall. He was riding just in front of his teammate, and it looks like he had a kind of issue, got rear-ended by his teammate, and then smacked the wall, and then looks like that's too much damage for him. He is towed. So car number 37, Kane Halliburton, looks to be another tow and a possible retirement early in this race, David. That was a very strange incident. The only thing I can think is a possible technical issue with the car as he just stopped accelerating. No other reason for his teammate to hit him otherwise.
Yeah, his teammate Robert Noacker was right behind him, and yeah, maybe a misshift, maybe a...
Yeah, so just not quite sure what happened there, but yeah, this front Miata group, not much changed here. We're still watching Justin Brunner holding off Travis Swinky, followed by Christopher Eben and John D. Allen, who we do see on the HJBC every now and then in the Champ Car Series. John D. Allen, a very competitive driver in that Champ Car Series. He actually won the most recent season, so congratulations to him. But very strong out there right now.
Alex Albert was our winner in most recent Champ Car iRacing series, brought to the very, very final round by John D. Allen. A great battle we had between them. And of course, we've got both of them here represented as well. So different classes, though, for those guys.
Thank you for correcting me, David. I got very excited about that storyline here with John D. Allen. But yes, that is correct. Alex Albert did win that series broadcast right here on HJBC. And very cool to see both of those two out here tonight. Unfortunately, they won't be battling in two different car classes.
So it's all holding station for the leaders of our three classes here. Pack for the lead of TCR, pack for the lead of Mustangs, a pack for the lead of MX5s as well. All of them not fighting too hard in the early goings, because what happens if you fight your way to the lead of the pack? You'll just have everyone else on your tail still.
Yeah, and you really don't want to have to do that too much right now. But I think you're right. We're just doing a lot of riding along. Quick check on track temps. We have dropped 3 degrees. We are still at a toasty 91 degrees as we watch. Again, this top TCR pack just continue to drop each other. Cloud still overcast, partly cloudy, 74 degrees. So not a whole lot changing out there with 23 minutes under our belt. Right now, fast lap of the race in the TCR belongs to Thomas Ellison in car number 24 with a 157.626. So that is a very speedy lap, likely aided just a little bit by a draft. But congratulations, Thomas Ellison, for getting fastest lap of this race. And I think we're going to see some of those lap times drop down even further. These cars continue to drop fuel. With these TCR cars already pretty light, lighter fuel, we're going to probably see another couple tenths drop off. You get a really good draft out there.
Yeah, indeed. So we know the Ford Mustang fuel consumption, they can just make it to halfway to do it on one stop. Everyone will be targeting that. Mazda MX-5s, a little inline 4-cylinder, not the thirstiest of cars out there. They can probably do about an hour and a half. So wider pit window in the middle of the race for them to make it. Question mark on these TCR cars. Maybe they can only do an hour 5 or an hour 10.
And then we're gonna cut to the Mustang field has now caught up to the Miata field, and we're watching this top group here. David, this whole group is just in one big pack. Cars P1 through P5 in Mustang, they are all together, and these Miatas have got to watch out for these guys because they are all battling for the position. As we watch Jorge Sadago go a little bit wide, coming into this very long sweeping right-hander. Looks like everybody made it past that first Miata in due time. No real issues there, but going to be some scary times for these Miatas as these very powerful and very noisy Mustangs are going to be looking to get by them pretty quick.
And a reminder, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can choose select camera and ride on board with some of the Team UJAS team members, I believe including Alex Albert in the Mustang.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool feature we offered to you guys here on HJBC. As we've got several of our team drivers out there with multiple cameras, so you could hop in with several different drivers out there. If you enjoy the TV broadcast, great, you can hang along here with us, or you can ride along, hear some real sounds, and possibly even some radio chatter with some of those other drivers. So pretty cool that we offer that to our viewers as we watch these. We're about to go 3 wide here, David, going through NASCAR 3 and 4 with some Miatas and some Mustangs.
Yeah, no doubt. And like we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, those Mazdas getting a little power bump means that they're just a little bit closer in pace to the Mustangs. Makes this a little bit more difficult, I think, for both classes involved, because those Mazdas don't want to lose touch with their leaders and lose track of their draft. Our Mustang drivers don't want to lose any time either.
No, they do not. So I'm just trying to take a run on who are some of our winners and losers in some of these classes. With we're just coming up on 30 minutes of this race. Thomas Ellison in the TCR class, a big winner so far, up 6 spots and still the holder of our fastest lap. You go down to the Mustang group, everybody's pretty much gained a few spots right now. Alex Crawford in P4 is up 4 spots in class, so that's good for him. And in the Mustang, in the Miata group, we've got Robert Noacker in car number 013, up 10 spots. So he's a big winner right now early on in this Miata group, David. So quite a few good movers out there. We're really starting to see some of these classes mix and mingle, primarily the Mustangs and the Miatas. We still got a whole other pack of Mustangs working through this group. We've got another group just about to pass them right now. So everybody's being very careful. NASCAR 3 and 4, NASCAR 1 and 2 is a nice place to get the job done, because you really don't want to get stuck behind some of these slower cars in the infield, because you can turn yourself around pretty quick in one of these Mustangs.
Yeah, you mentioned Robert Noaker, one of our Mazda MX-5 drivers from Racecraft Esports, who started at the back of the grid there. No qualifying time for him, to my knowledge, but now moving his way up through the pack, and he's behind one Manuel Fernandez. And those familiar with the road to Indy will recognize Robert Noaker's name as one of the drivers from the battery tender MX-5 Cup. So not a lot of experience in that car around Daytona potentially. Certainly a bit of experience in those cars. The Mustang leaders now have got just to approach the top four leading pack in that MX-5 class, and that's Justin Brunner, Travis Schwenke, Clifford Eben, and John D. Allen, and those guys are working really well together to build their breakaway, because as I see it now, they're almost 10 seconds clear of the rest of their class. It'll be such a tall order for anyone else in that field to try and close down that gap, when for the moment those guys are playing nice with each other, working well together, saving fuel, and making lap time.
Yeah, these guys, it's just a really fun group to watch here. These guys, yeah, as you mentioned, David, they are working well together. They are drafting well together. Lots of clean body panels out there. I don't know if that will be the case by the end of the race, but right now this group being very responsible. We'll run down the lap times for each of these. So P1 Justin Brenner is a 2:10.87. P2 is 2:10.9, and then a 2:10.99, and then John D. Allen has a 2:11.3. So I wouldn't say lap times, fast lapses aren't insignificant right now, but these guys are pretty much identical as we watch them continue to draft each other and be responsible. And looks like, yeah, David, these Mustangs, they're going to come roaring up on them, potentially at a kind of a dangerous spot entering the bus stop. So let's see how this Miata group deals with these Mustangs come blaring on their outside here in just a few moments.
Yes, if you're someone like John D. Allen here, you don't want to be separated from those leaders by the traffic coming through. He stays left. Reynolds goes right, and a big dive from Daniel Rash. He wants to clear the whole class. It's not quite going to happen. Oh, contact! Alex Albert into the back of, was that Nils Senkowski potentially? Big checkup in the bus stop. Drama for the Mustangs and the MX-5s, Aaron.
Yeah, David, that was a massive moment. Alex Albert just completely missed his breaking point. I think he was not anticipating Nils breaking early for that Miata group. And Alex Albert, yeah, he broke right at the 2 marker. I don't know if that's the common braking area, but just slammed right into Nils, and then Nils was just a passenger at that point. Hit very hard into the tire wall. And David, I worry that his race may be done, because that was a very hard hit inside that tire wall inside the bus stop. Alex Albert, some pretty tough driving on his side, but David, I just think he wasn't anticipating that early braking.
Yeah, so Sinkowski onto the pit lane, and one thing that's going to maybe save him a little bit here is he has a fast repair available to use. This puts him off strategy with the pit cycle. He's not going to get home from here. He's still going to need another pit stop, but it is not race over for him just yet. It's very, very unfortunate, and we say things happen in the traffic. Big checkup because of the leading MX-5s, and Alex Albert maybe just thought he could get on the brakes a bit deeper than he could, and he's made unfortunate contact there with Nils Senkowski, sent him spinning into the tire barrier. And Senkowski, car repaired, getting back out there, but I don't think he's going to be especially well pleased.
No, he's definitely not going to be pleased by the driving of Alex Albert. But yeah, Alex Albert just likely not ready for that very early braking. And I used to drive the Mustang quite a bit, David, and you take a shunt like that into the front of that car, you can damage the cooling in this car, and this car will overheat. So I hope Alex Albert is keeping a close eye on his water temps and maybe his oil temperatures, because a hit like that and the amount of damage that he's showing on the front of this car, if I'm Alex Albert, we're 30 minutes into this race, I just may dive in and take that fast repair to avoid blowing an engine and stranding yourself over there and having to take a very long tow. So Alex Albert, I'd keep an eye on those gauges right now because it doesn't look like he's slowing down too much. But man, was that a big hit.
Certainly was. And Milsenkowski comes out just behind the TCR leaders and their pack still going strong. Jack Sedgwick, I see a paint for Inex Racing at the moment on his car, still pulling along everyone else. Simon Trendell, Dylan Sharman, Brandon Hawken, and Tom Ellison in that pack. Giovanni Romano, Michael Derby have lost a bit of time to that. And then there's another two drivers working together in Remy David and Paul Mazier. I think the story of who's the real winner in TCR, we're not going to know until the first round of pit stops. And if we see a driver coming in before there's 1 hour, 12 minutes, half of the race to go, we'll know that they're probably not going to make it on fuel.
No, they're definitely not, and so we're gonna keep an eye on this. I'm trying to think which group is probably gonna go first as we're watching the TCR group make work their way through a mixed bag of cars here. A handful of Miatas, a handful of Mustangs. So yeah, just a lot of drafting, and yeah, Simon Trudell, he has taken that spot away. Or excuse me, he has lost a spot from that Jack Subject. So lots of drafting. I was watching car number 13, Dylan Sherman hitting the rev limiter, just absolutely slamming into the back of Dylan Sherman drafting through here. And we've got a Mustang that we're working up through here, Dave. So, David, these guys are really working hard. The rev limiter screaming on these cars, working to that final trial area. That Mustang stays out of the way as we watch this top TCR group work their way through the Mustangs.
Interesting thing to note there in these TCR cars is the fixed gearbox they have.
Yeah, fixed gearbox, so not a lot of opportunity in this to actually no opportunity to adjust any sort of gearing. Where on a track like this, you just want is almost as tall a gears as you possibly can, and depending on the strategy, even run as little of wing as you can. But you know, where you want to be fast in the infield, you want to be fast on the big stuff. It's almost like the Le Mans conundrum. Do you want to be fast in the straights, or do you want to be quick in the bendy stuff? But yeah, these TCR cars, you get a good pickup with running some low wing, and that draft definitely helps. So when you hit that rev limiter, you're not going to go too much faster once you're on that.
Problems for Tom Ellison. I've just seen him drop out of that leading pack, and I think that's happened on turn one this time around. There was sorts of dramas with the Mustang and a Mazda in there, and what has happened for Tom Ellison into turn one? He cops a hit from Lee Mullerman in one of the Mustangs, sends Tom Ellison around. Thankfully, those TCR cars built like a tank. He'll continue on, but he will not be happy with that whatsoever because he was doing a great job keeping in touch with our leading TCR cars.
Yeah, that was a very strange incident. Yeah, that Mustang got a little loose on the trail brake into turn one. It snapped to the left and then snapped to the right and then absolutely mashed the left rear of Tom Ellison, which sent him around. And then Tom Ellison received another hit from a TCR car. So just hitting all sides on that. And then Thomas Ellison tried to get a turn back around and almost hit the tire wall trying to do a 4-point turn though. But he's back running. He's back in it. But yeah, big moment for Thomas Ellison there. And David, glad you mentioned these cars are tanks because Tom's going to need one right now for that kind of hit.
Yeah, unfortunately, I thought he'd be able to carry on, but he is on the pit lane. I don't know if maybe he's picked up a meatball flag in that. What he'll be praying for is that everyone else can't make it on one stop. If everyone else has to two-stop, this isn't catastrophe for Tom Ellison taking an early stop. If the leaders can stretch that wall out, then he'll have a problem.
Yeah, David, we just saw a huge incident in the infield section. The TCR leader Jack Sedgwick was trying to work his way past the car number 97 Mustang, who was also working his way past a bunch of Miatas early on the braking. And the Mustang, yeah, so what happened, David? A Miata cut in on car number 97. Jack Sedgwick had to check up, and then he also got tagged. So, David, just a whole bumper car situation right there. No fault on anyone, but just a really tight situation, and not a whole lot that anybody could have done.
Yeah, I would struggle to pin that one on Jack Sedgwick. The Mustang had to jump on the brakes in front of him. Sedgwick didn't have anywhere to go and no time to react, unfortunately, there. That's what happens, I guess, sometimes we have all three classes mix in together like that. Jack Sedgwick continues on, still leading the class there. Simon Trendell, I think, might have had a look towards the bus stop, either ran out of sixth gear or lifted out, trying to save his fuel. And of course, these TCR cars, I'd say they're probably the car out here that fills fuel the slowest, despite being probably the most expensive and the most modern. They can take tires at the same time as a pit stop, at the same time as refueling, but that fuel doesn't go in quickly. Jack Sedgwick's now dropped to second because Simon Trendell has got around him. Sedgwick might be feeling some of those problems, or decided he doesn't want to be the one leading the train no more.
Interesting little tidbit on the fueling there. Now, David, we all know that there's one car in the iRacing service that fuels the slowest, and that is the street stock. Which fills slower, the street stock or the TCR?
Probably the Kia Optima. That one, refueled with fuel jugs, is pretty slow as well, in addition to being very, very thirsty, so having to stop very often. That was one of the cars that you'd traditionally see in this Raw Before the 24 format. Switched over to the Audi TCR car. And of course, TCR cars do run at Daytona in the Michelin Pilot Challenge, so I think pretty accurate, and we've seen some strong drivers in this car show up. Simon Trendell, Jack Sedgwick, two great examples of that. So I think switch to the TCR well in order, and it's a little bit closer in straight line speed and overall lap pace to some of the other cars as well.
Yeah, and not to mention it's a great car to have in the service, and it's from what we've seen in some of the racing, it's just fantastic to drive. It's a little bumpy over some of the curves. You see this car's got to hop around, but I think that's just really good feedback to see the drivers really hassle this car around. And yeah, depending on how you feel about front wheel drive cars, I think there's no love loss in what this car can do from a driving experience, and really produces some fantastic racing.
So the quick update on all of your classes. So 4 cars for the lead in TCR. In the Mustang class, Daniel Rash has now got 6 seconds ahead of Jorge Saligo, Alex Coffard, and Alex Albert, who've formed up a pack. And in the MX5 class, Clifford Eben has dropped from the lead. Justin Brunner still leading, bringing along Travis Schwenke and John D. Allen. So 4-car battle for the lead in TCR, 1 breakaway in the Mustangs, and 3 cars leading Mazda MX5.
Yeah, Mazda MX-5 maintains to be kind of our closest group. Justin Brunner, Travis Schwenke, and John D. Allen. These guys are remaining pretty close together, and we're seeing a car in P4. Clifford Eben is kind of by himself out there. He has a little bit of damage. David, he may have been part of that shakeup with our TCR leader, Simon Trudeau, and Jack Sedgwick in that infield section, a little bump around. It looks like some bumper damage on his end. I believe he was part of that, but that's not going to hurt him too much. And being by yourself right now, this is not exactly the place he wants to be, because draft is so important here. But he's doing all right. Clifford Eben with a very strong P4 right now, as you watch him get passed by the TCR car number 26.
A couple of changes for position as well in the Mustangs. I saw Justin Hall go ahead of Jake Johansson in the little battle they're having there over 5th in class, where Alexander Bueller is also in the picture. Alex Albert went ahead of Alex Coffard for 3rd. So there's Mustang guys trading a couple of places. And of course, a car where the slipstream is relatively strong, but probably the class where it's least important, because it's so critical in TCR, so important in the little MX5s. Mustangs got that grunt, not as aerodynamically dependent either.
No, especially with some of the damage you're seeing that Alex Albert riding along with right now. I'm really surprised that he is still out there without taking a fast repair. David, he must not be seeing anything alarming on the gauges. Water temps must be fine. Oil temps must be fine. It doesn't appear to be down on speed. His lap times are pretty much on par with everybody else. Yeah, he does have that draft from Jorge Saligo up there, so that's going to help him out. But Alex Albert's got to be careful. If he gets by himself, he is going to lose some top speed because of that damage. But I'm impressed that the car seems to be okay, and he's still running strong.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to hold it out there for the next 30 minutes before he reaches the window that he can take his pit stop. And of course, he'll get that repaired with his fast repair in the pit stop while he's taking his fuel and probably taking a new set of tires as well. During practice for this race, he was telling me the tires pretty grippy the first couple of laps out of the pit lane. Then they drop away to a plateau and they just stay there for the rest of the stint. So you'll gain a bit of time from taking a new set of tires, sort of DOT street tires that are on this Mustang. Not particularly wide tires either. It's very production based indeed. They hang in there at a reasonable level of grip pretty long, but when you do have a new set, that first couple of laps out of them uh, just gives you that little bit extra. So if he's trying to make an undercut on anyone, he'll definitely want that set of tires, be able to put them to good effect. And there's no extra time in the pit lane for the Mustang for taking a set of tires when you have to take almost a full tank of fuel. They're going to go 3 wide. What is going on here? Jorge Soligo holds the middle line. Alex Albert dives down low, and Alex Coffard's going to try and go around the outside. So Albert switches himself up into second place in class. What about that 2 wide battle behind? I think Jorge Soligo will just hold on to that one in his Brazilian Air Force inspired livery. Or is he going to be able to chop off Alex Coffard? No, he's not. Coffard deep, too deep into the corner. Soligo cuts back underneath, and I think he'll get that third place back. These guys are fighting pretty hard for the fact that they're still a while away from the pit window, and they're definitely not catching first place where Daniel Rash is continuing his own little breakaway at the moment.
Yeah, Daniel Rash with a very comfortable almost 8.4 second gap. David, that was a really fun moment right there. I think these guys looking to have a little fun out there. They probably, a little spice in their life after riding around pretty comfortably for about 43 minutes. And Alex Corbett, I thought he was going to do it. He took a very unconventional line into turn one, brought a few cones with him, managed to go to the chicane side by side with Jorge Soligo, and almost got the job done going into the International Horseshoe, but just outbroke himself. And Jorge was able to regain that position. But right now we're seeing Jorge get right back up on the bumper of Alex Albert and possibly taking a look into the bus stop. Alex Albert taking a defensive line here, driving right down the middle of the track. Be careful, boys. This is about to get spicy.
We've already seen troubles in people picking their braking spot wrong into that bus stop. They all look like they work their way through it this time. Track temperature continuing to drop, because otherwise one of the problems with this Mustang is it's a big heavy brute that doesn't quite like turning. Finding the grip for that change of direction in the middle of the bus stop can be tricky. All these guys navigate it well. 10th place in this class have swapped a few positions as well. Marcus Yestal, Aaron Lease, Lee Muleman there, and I think it might have been a little bit of contact.
Yeah, David, I just want to, but we have car number 54 in the TCR class. He was kind of riding by himself. Michael J. Fowler entering into the bus stop. David, I think he just kind of missed his braking point, came in a little too hot, and just nosed it right into that tire wall. And unfortunately, the nose appears to be buried in the tire wall, and he has taken a tow. So, David, the bus stop continues to eat cars, as this is our second incident we've seen so far.
Yeah, indeed. So troubles there for Fowler. And that will drop him back a long way. Even once they tow that car back to pit lane, he hasn't got a fast repair left.
Yeah, we've got...
Our MX-5 lead that was a pack of 3 or so cars. Now, Justin Brunner somehow must be through some of the traffic, I imagine. Has managed to drop Travis Schwenke and John D. Allen. How has that one gone and happened, Aaron?
Yeah, I'm trying to scan back here to see where this change may have happened, but I'm not really seeing a lot. So, David, this must have happened several laps ago. But yeah, this group is pretty spread out right now. It looks like some of our best battles on track are going to maintain in that mid-pack group with the Mustangs and that top three with TCR. But man, Miatas, pretty spread out.
Yeah, indeed. But more of that going to happen. Lee Muleman and Marcus Yestal trying to work their way past Travis Schwenke and John D. Allen. Puts himself between them a little bit there as well. And I'm sure in his mirror where he can still just see them, Justin Brunner will be loving that, because he needs to keep the hammer down if he's going to break that toe. Those guys are still just within range of being able to close him. And in fact, if there's a Mustang between them on the banking, that might help Travis Schwenke pick up a bit more of a draft, close in on Justin Brunner.
Yeah, I just watched the car number 97, Marcus G, and just again have an issue in that infield section. David, he almost got hit again, and he almost spun in that exact same spot where he had a little tussle with our TCR leaders. This time dealing with some standalone Miatas, and so just really tough time for car number 97 of Marcus G. Is not having his best of luck battling through the infield in that infield section. Mainly that turn number 6 going to that long right sweep as you watch him work through the bus stop with a little more success, and probably going to get himself a course cut right there.
Technical problem for Jorge Saligo at the moment. Wait to see if he reappears, but he was in a battle with Alex Albert. He was in that pack for second place. If we don't see him reappear on track, it will be a tow or a retirement for our Brazilian driver. He was doing a good job there, and I haven't seen a crash or an accident for that car. He has unfortunately suffered and succumbed to some technical issues, has Jorge Soligo. So that is almost as unfortunate to see as a crash, because it doesn't appear to be any mistake or any racing incident for him. He has just unfortunately disappeared from the race, and that is a shame to see. He was creating some of the best racing we were having in that Mustang class, battling around second and third place.
Yeah, that is the same, David. I've seen also the same report as well that he's experienced some technical issues. So Alex Albert has got some work to do in order to catch back up to Alex Codford, who has gapped him at about 1.5 seconds now. And we're watching, some TCR cars potentially working through. Yes, Alex Albert's got a big train of these. Our leader group, TCR, is passing through right now.
Yeah, precisely. They go too wide on the banking past the start-finish line. Trendell now leading this race. Again, he was our pole sitter. Jack Sedgwick came through pretty early, led a lot of laps. Dylan Sharman almost dropped off this pack, but somehow got back into it. So Trendell now has got to pick his route through the traffic, through the first of the horseshoes. Tries to stick his nose down the inside of Mustang. Doesn't quite make it work. Now approaching a big pack of MX-5s. Who's in that one? I think it's Nicholas Isidro, Luca Crisafi, Nick Harwood, and Andrew Archer. So heads up right now as a pack of 4 TCR cars tries to work its way through a battling pack of 4 MX-5 cars. Good job from Trendell. He goes down the inside, uses that turbocharged power to launch himself away. He'll get through, but I'm not sure when all the others in that pack will come on through. Switch of position, Brandon Hawkin puts his nose in front of Jack Sedgwick. Dylan Sharman loses out quite a bit of time and drops away a little bit. So is this now when someone like Simon Trendell puts the hammer down, tries to build a gap? Has he saved enough fuel, or are they headed for a 2-stop strategy? That's the big question, I think, in TCR still.
Yeah, it definitely is. And we're approaching that 1 hour mark, which you kind of mentioned is potentially fuel. But fantastic driving by everyone in this TCR group going through that infield section, battling through all 3 classes. We saw a small casualty with car number 242, Nicholas Isidro. Got spun around just a little bit. As you watch, Jake Sedgwick give Simon Trudell a very not so delicate left tap going into NASCAR 3 and 4. We're watching Brendan Hawkin get up in the party as well, David. So these guys may be thinking group bidding at this point because they got spread out. But my goodness, did P2 and P3 catch up quick?
I don't know what's going on, maybe with a bump draft here, trying to drop Dylan Sharman, but your leader from the Mustang field is on the pit lane, Daniel Rash, and that, I think, is surely too early to be able to go to the end from here. Has it been a problem for him, or has he not started with enough fuel? What's going on for what was our class leader, Daniel Rash, in the 28?
Yeah, I'm
Don't see a lot of damage on the car. It's on pit lane, getting service done. He brought it down by himself. Is that just he's gone too hard too early and burnt too much fuel?
Yeah, David, I went back almost a lap there and saw no incidents, no issues. So I think you're right. This is a very early pit stop. Maybe he's seeing an opportunity for some drafting. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, you're definitely right that this Mustang, the likelihood of him being able to go to the end on this one stop is not likely unless he's got some really good MPG easy throttle application and some lift and coast, but let's keep a close eye on our former leader for Mustang, car number 28, Daniel Rashes. David, I think he's may have made an error with the pit stop, but he's down there, and that's why we're up here. His math may be better than ours.
Yeah, a surprise to me for sure. And the first class leader we've seen come onto the pit lane looked like a pretty normal scheduled stop there, 24.7 seconds. He took a brand new set of tires, put presumably brimmed the fuel in that thing with still an hour 35 minutes to go. So he might have realized that by himself with no draft, he wasn't going to make it on one stop. So he's brought it in early, grabbed himself that new set of tires a little bit earlier to try and put them to work, close that gap back down. But as it stands right now, from our understanding of how the strategy normally works in these races, it's kind of handed it to Alex Coffard or Alex Albert at the moment. They're leading in class and they're in the best seat in the house for the win in that class, I think, at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also, Alex Carpert, I'm not really seeing that damage on Alex Albert. Alex Carpert has stretched his legs to 5.4 seconds in terms of a gap right now. Alex Albert has a bunch of damage on his car, David. We're really starting to see, I think that hurt him as, yeah, he's running, he's running about 2 tenths slower a lap, but man, that 5 seconds, David, he must have really got caught in some traffic, maybe even had an incident because I don't think Alex Albert can lose 5 seconds the last time we checked in with him. So let's keep an eye on that situation.
Yeah, that kind of damage on the front of his car is the kind of thing that looks like it'd hurt your power a little bit, hurt your straight line speed a little bit. So if he was in a draft behind someone else, he could get away with it, run along with them and run the normal pace. Now that he's been dropped, I think we'll see Alex Coffard try and build that gap out. And of course, without a slipstream, if it's hurting your straight line speed, it's hurting your fuel economy as well. Which we know that the Mustangs can do this race on one stop, but only if they save a little bit of fuel, and that task has now become a little bit tougher for Alex Albert. Saving fuel in TCR is Brandon Hawkin and Jack Sedgwick, still letting Simon Trendell lead this race. Jack Sedgwick has gone and stolen the fastest lap of the race away from our friend Tom Ellison, though, and Ellison is on the pit lane for the second time, so I worry that could be a retirement for him.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree that that is likely a retirement, likely in the pub. Thomas Ellison had a very good start, a strong start. He was running. He started in, yeah, he was up several spots early on in the race, but that first incident, he just got just caught up in a very strange spin by one of the Mustangs that get hit by a TCR. Just never fully recovered. I think he's probably decided to hit the pub and watch the rest of this race from the skybox.
Trendell deep into turn one now, side by side with Brandon Hawkin for the lead of that class. I imagine if you're Trendell, you let it go, and he does let Brandon Hawkin into the lead of the race for what I think is the first time. So Hawkin now going to lead that pack. And that little checkup also helps Dylan Sharman try to stay in touch with those top three. He's been there and thereabout. He was the fastest TCR car on the last lap. He needs to keep working to stay in the top four of the TCR cars, work their way past the 55. Clifford Eben, Big C, fourth in class for him right now. He does his job to not get in the way of anyone else. A little bit miscommunication with Dylan Sharman, but that goes on through cleanly. So we've had, to my count, at least 3 leaders in TCR so far. Those guys just swapping places when and as required.
Yeah, almost a like swap and run, and then yeah, for the first time, Brandon Hawkins is seeing a clear track in front of him. And when I say clear track in front of him, a not a fellow TCR car. So no more fuel saving for Simon Chanel as he is working his way to possibly leading his first lap. They're going to have a few Mustangs in front of them. They're going to have to work through. Oh, excuse me, that is Miata's in front. We got John D. Allen and Travis Sedgwick. So they got to be very careful with this group, as this is a top running group for our Miatas.
Yeah, second and third, who are still just 3 seconds off their leader. So if they can tuck into a tiny bit of TCR draft, they'll hope to do that. Maybe give it another 5 or 10 minutes in these MX-5s, these little Mazdas will be able to pit and get to the end. But for our other classes, we're really waiting to see, can they get to 1 hour, 12 minutes? Our TCR cars leaders still out there, Mustang leaders still out there, with the exception of, who was it? Daniel Rash. He's still putting in the good times now, so I do not rule him out because he clearly has pace in that car. He's definitely, most definitely on a two-stop strategy, though, which is a bold one to take.
Yeah, he is on a two stop, a two stop indeed. And I'm looking at some times, and David, he's not going that much quicker. And when I say not that much quicker, he's pretty much on par. I mean, he is currently, in terms of last lap, he is the fastest Mustang on track. So David, he's full of fuel. He's feeling quick right now. But yeah, we're just really starting to wonder about that fuel strategy. When he had such a confident lead, I think it was almost up to 9 seconds at one point with some interesting pit strategy. So we're going to continue to watch that. But David, what battles again? We're getting a little spattered here. Everybody's kind of on the back section of the track. I don't say. Looks like our TCR group. We love checking up with those guys, but not a lot changing there. Is there a battle in the Mustangs? Looks like P12 or excuse me, P3 and P4 Mustang, Justin Hall and Jake Johansson.
Yeah, I'm seeing that too. Justin Hall now in third in class after that pit stop from Daniel Rash. He's got Jake Johansson in that ZVX Vroom car behind him. And that team and those guys have been big supporters of HJ events. We've seen them in the Mustang here before. So uh, always pleased and a good sign when someone comes back for another race. He has been just a tiny bit quicker on the last lap around. He's definitely in Justin Hall's slipstream. So if fuel is the concern, being the driver behind is probably preferable until that first pit stop. And a message come through from Jorge Saligo, who was running in the top 3 in this Mustang class. A storm in his area, in his city, unfortunately causing him to disconnect from this race. So that is unfortunate, a weather event for him, taking him out of this race and out of contention for a very good position. But third in class, side by side on the banking, Justin Hall went high, lets Jake Johansson through. So maybe Hall uh, on the loud pedal for most of this race, hoping to stretch his fuel out to make the halfway point so that he can also take that one-stop strategy. He lets Jake Johansson right on through and drops back a little bit further as well. Got some TCR cars that are going to try and jump on through. So I hope fuel isn't too much of a concern for Justin Hall, but if it is, he's doing what he can to massage the remaining amount. What does he need? 15 more minutes.
Yeah, and these TCRs are really doing some good favors for Alexander Bueller, who has been kind of at a pretty quiet race. As you watch him now, David, he's closed up almost a 2 second gap on that last lap. He's now caught up to Justin Hall and Jake Johansson. With these TCR cars giving them a bit of trouble, Bueller is now in the mix for a potential top 5. Excuse me, David, he is in top 5.
Yeah, so what is it with these Ford Mustangs and Air Force-inspired paints? We had Jorge Saligo with his, goodness, I don't want to butcher the Portuguese pronunciation on Brazilian Air Force paint. We've got Alexander Bueller running a paint of his own creation, chrome P-51 US Air Force or US Army Air Forces inspired livery. I think looking quite slick as well. Not quite a fighter jet is the Ford Mustang, but pit stops from TCR, and we are before the halfway point in the race. Simon Trendell and Dylan Sharman in. That will commit them to a two-stop strategy. The Audi TCR being too thirsty for those guys. So from our top 4 pack, 2 cars onto the lane, and does that mean we'll see the rest maybe in another lap or so time? Michael Derby jumps in as well. This is a key strategy moment for the TCR class, and these guys pitting earlier going to get onto a cold set of tires. They'll be a bit slow initially, but then when everyone else pits onto their set of cold tires, theirs will have warmed up a little bit more. So busy if your job is working on an Audi TCR in pit road.
Yeah, indeed. And we're watching some of those pit times. Brandon Hawken has assumed the lead now. Jake Sedgwick and Giovanni Mano, P1, P2, P3, as we watch our lead group take a breather, take a break. And we've got P7, Remy David is now in the pits. Oh, Paul is here. David, the whole group looks to be filing in right now. That top three is taking one extra lap, but everybody else, David, following suit with our three leaders previous laps.
Yeah, exactly. With almost everyone on pit lane, it then casts your attention towards those drivers who think they've got at least another lap of fuel still left. Brandon Hawken, Jack Sedgwick, Giovanni Romano. Romano's 10 seconds off the lead, so he's still made some reasonable pace there. And if his strategy is going to work out for him, that could certainly help him. So new tires going on just about everyone. Of course, the fueling takes so long that tires easy to take. So a full tank from here, if these guys have gone just about 59 minutes or so, that will mean we'll see a lot more cars maybe come on to the pit road with 25 minutes to go. This is going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting indeed. So it's that lead group there that is, yeah, they're David. They're going, they're going another round. So Brendan Hawken, Jake Cedric, and Simon Trudeau. These guys are still, or excuse me, the top three are still out there. Excuse me, Giovanni Romano, David. I apologize. These guys are still out. Oh, Giovanni's in right now.
Giovanni in. Jack Sedgwick just set the fastest lap of the race in the TCR class. So he's picking this as his opportunity to keep that throttle pinned, stop lifting and coasting, and get the most out of those tires. He is now just a couple tenths behind Brandon Hawken. And those guys, I think, really staking their claim for maybe being able to grab the overall win in this HJ Raw before the 24-2020 because yeah, going a little bit longer on the fuel, and Cedric also grabbing the fastest lap of the race. He's saying, I've got the fuel economy and I've got the pace. So that's really made it interesting, I think, in the TCR class, knowing that it's going to be a two-stop race for everyone.
Yeah, you bet. But this top group, they're running a few extra laps here, nice and light on fuel, but they're about to hit some traffic. So I don't want to say that their plan is going to backfire on them, but they got to make very quick work of these two Mustangs here for the bus stop, which I think they can do. And I believe the car in front of them after that is another TCR car, David. So they should be okay, but they're going to have to make quick work of Lee Molman here. Is Lee going to help these two TCR cars out? No, David, he's not. Wait a minute. Wait, yes. Oh, David, scary moment for the leader right there. Oh my goodness, that was not what either of these guys needed, likely entering into their pit lap.
Yeah, catching Lee Mullerman right in the middle of the bus stop, and that's been a bit of a pressure point all race, hasn't it? The different closing speeds, and there's only one good line through what's functionally a full apex corner. Hawken leading Sedgwick, and Hawken on the lane. Is Sedgwick going to continue? It looks like he's staying out. He's found, what, 3 laps more in that tank of fuel than some of the other guys. He's maybe done a good job letting Simon Trendell lead when he did.
Yeah, this is some impressive work. So we're going to watch Jack Sedgwick. Here comes the beyond. He's going to be careful here. So David, he needs to lay down an absolute heater of a lap here in order to really take advantage of this one extra lap. If he can take a draft from Paul Mazier, who is just in front of him, currently in P8 in class. If he can get one extra super quick lap out of this, I think it would really benefit him. But Jake Cedric is got to make this work because he has to come in on this test lap. I can't imagine he can squeak out one more.
Great battle forming up in our Ford Mustangs as well. Jake Johansson, Justin Hall, Alexander Bueller, Daniel Rash, all within a second of each other. And this is boding very well for Daniel Rash because we saw him have to come into the pit lane early from the lead of that class. Well, now he's catching up to what's basically third in class, and those guys still owe a pit stop. Rash, when he takes his final stop, it's going to be a bit of a splash and dash. So we think maybe ruled himself out of the race win. He's definitely on pace, on track, brought himself back into contention for a podium, but he's going to have to fight his way through these other guys as well without picking up any damage. Otherwise, he's losing time to Alex Albert and Alex Coffard. So interesting time in the Ford Mustangs as they head towards about 10 minutes, 5 laps from their pit stops. Jack Cedric is heading towards where the pit entry is. Surely he's going to have to pit this time.
Yeah, surely he is. He's working his way past car number 15, Paul Mazier, and we're all eyes on Jack Sedgwick here in car number 10. David, he has gone 31 laps. And yeah, this is it. He's coming in after almost 32 laps running with this TCR. David, that is some fantastic MPG work by Jack Sedgwick, who is finally in pit lane. Let's keep a close eye on that pit stop and see how much fuel he's going to take.
Yeah, the other guys in the top pack in that TCR class have taken their pit stops. They've come out on track. Hawken and Dylan Sharman together again, but Simon Trendell has jumped them by about 2 seconds. So we'll see where Jack Sedgwick comes out after this pit stop. If he knows he's got another one, maybe he won't completely fill the car at this stop. So he gets that track position, breaks the draft, and then has a pit stop later on. Alexander Bueller from that Mustang class, I think he's come to grief with Daniel Rash. I said Rash had to work his way through those cars that hadn't pitted yet for the track position. I have to rewind the tape in a second and see what's happened there. So I hear there may have been some contact between those Mustangs.
Oh yeah, this is unfortunately, but this is some pretty big contact. I don't entirely know if Daniel Rash thought Bueller was going to take a different line. Bueller running his line, and yeah, wow, David, that was a pretty big shunt. Oh my gosh, Alexander Bueller took a very big hit, and David, that unfortunately blew his engine with that impact. So Daniel Rash, not entirely sure what was going on there. I don't think Bueller broke early or was blocking in any way, but my goodness, Daniel Rash has put Alexander Bueller into the wall, taking a tough tow. He was running very strong, great comeback, but David, that's going to be a tough one for Bueller to come back from.
Yeah, indeed, indeed. That was that's one of those things about that early pit stop for Daniel Rash is it cost him the track position, put him out of place. Then he couldn't afford to lose too much time working his way back through those cars that hadn't pitted yet. And I think it's unfortunately come a little untangled for him there.
Now, David, I
So
don't want to speak.
continue, Aaron.
I was just saying, David, I don't want to speak for our stewards. We do have a steward observer in this race. Do we? Is there a chance we could hear any commentary from the stewarding booth? Because that was a move that I would warrant maybe some worth reviewing.
Yeah, our steward Chris Flamian a little tied up. This is a for fun event. His primary purpose to remove anyone who might be driving entirely unsavourily, not poor or ill-considered overtakes. So we might hear from him later on, but not right now, certainly. But our TCR leaders have made their pit stops now. Jack Sedgwick, Simon Trendell together, but 2 seconds back, Brandon Hawken and Dylan Sharman. Are those two in third and fourth going to work together to try and close up?
Yeah, they definitely, they got quite a bit of work to do. That's a 2 second gap. So one of these guys, Brandon Hawken, Dylan Sharman, they need to decide who is quicker in the infield, because obviously they're all going to be, oh, so you watch Brandon Hawken give us a bit of a show heading into turn one with a very nice drift. A bit easier to save it with these front-wheel drive cars. But yeah, these two need to decide who is quicker in the infield, because that's where they're going to gain their time, because, when they hit the trioval, when they hit just for the bus stop, they are hitting the rev limiter, so you're not exactly going to catch somebody on the big straights here, because they're all at the equal disadvantage. But yeah, who's quicker in the infield? I'll keep an eye on some second times, and I'll let you know.
Yeah, Alex Albert in the Mustangs dropping back very, very fast, about 3 seconds a lap off his best pace, and I think that's him trying to make it to the halfway point. So Daniel Rash now back up into second place, having already made an early pit stop. He's on track, on pace, riding himself back into this one. I think that damage for Alex Albert earlier on, he'll be wishing he rolled out of the throttle a little bit earlier for the bus stop.
Yeah, David, Alex Albert is running 205s. Daniel Rash, who just passed him, is running 203. So Alex Albert, I think he's really starting to feel some of that damage right now, as he is pretty much by himself, as Alex Albert has really put a big gap on Alex Albert. It's almost coming up on 17 seconds. So, David, I wonder if he's having some possible overheating issues at this point, because, yeah, he is just not running quick. He's almost 2 seconds off the pace.
Yeah, overheating a possibility. I think what's most likely is he's trying to hit that fuel number, and it's become so difficult to do with the aerodynamic damage that he has on the car. I'm seeing one of our first MX-5s diving towards pit lane. I think that's Nicholas Isidrio. He's running 12th in class, a bit further down the order, but we are 3 minutes away from the halfway point of the race. So him being able to get to the end on fuel from there, I'd say almost a certainty. Same true for everyone else in that class. But they are just staying out as long as they can, running that car as light as they can, because in a car that doesn't weigh a whole lot, I guess the weight of the fuel is a higher proportion, might have a bigger effect on the performance. Why carry the fuel around when you don't need to?
Yeah, why not? So it's exciting to see our second group of cars potentially starting to pit. Yeah, these Mustangs, these guys are all. Yeah, David, you mentioned we just say about an hour 15, hour and 20 is when these guys are likely going to see some of their spots. Nils Setkowski has pitted in the Mustangs. And we also have a pit from Alexander Bueller, but that was a not a scheduled stop for Alexander Bueller. And Daniel Rash is also pitted, but he's worked his way all the way back up to P2 in class. So Mustangs quickly approaching from what I believe you said earlier.
Yeah, strong effort from Rash. He was 3 seconds a lap faster than Alex Coffard last time. Coffard had some problems with a TCR car that was doing a pretty similar pace to him. But of course, V8 rear wheel drive versus turbocharged front wheel drive, they're quick in very different places. And it cost Coffard a lot of time. Not to say that Daniel Rash hasn't been one of the quickest drivers in that class. He is now 15 seconds off the lead and has already taken some of the fuel he's going to require. So I think he has the hammer down, trying to claw that gap back, put himself in contention for the win in that class. For the win in the TCR class, Brandon Hawken and Dylan Sharman have done a very strong job of catching back up to Jack Sedgwick and Simon Trendell. So, from all of them pitting across a bunch of different laps apart, Sedgwick, Trendell, Hawken, and Sharman, our top four in the TCR class, all glued back together again. But we think Jack Sedgwick going to be the driver who needs to take the least fuel at the final pit stop. He seems to have miracles in the fuel economy in that thing. Brandon Hawken, I said, closing back up on the lead there, sets the fastest lap of the race that time by, and that's what he's needed to do to close back in on the leaders, doing a strong job of it.
Yeah, David, I think it was Simon Trindell that was able to kind of bring the second group back up. He was almost almost a 6/10 slower in sector 3 on that last lap, so he may have hit some traffic that Jack Cedric was able to work his way through. So Simon Trindell doing the second group of favors, watching Dylan Sharman having a bit of trouble catching back up to Dylan Hawken. David, he cannot afford to lose this draft here and be stranded because those three cars get in a train. They're going to take off pretty quickly.
Yeah, for sure. So 40 seconds away from halfway in this race. 2.4 hours, 2 hours, 24 minutes, and now with 1 hour, 12 minutes remaining. So these Mustangs making it as far as they can, and already seen the first pit stop out of our TCR cars. Will we see some MX-5s, some Mazdas decide to chop the race in half? We will. Robert Noaker is on the pit lane. He was sixth in class. He's going to come in and make his first pit stop, and he's the leading of what was several racecraft esports cars.
Yeah, yeah, we are. So, David, we're just approaching the halfway point here. We're going to hop inside with one of our TCR cars. David, who would you like to hop in with? As we're going to take a quick break and right along, as your commentator group is going to take a quick break.
Let's pick someone we've not seen too much of. So I'll say Paul Mazier, seventh in class.
David, we're going to come back from our break quickly as we are seeing the Mustang group is now hopping into the pits right now. We have Alex Cofford has pitted, Alex Albert has pitted, Justin Hall has pitted, Jake Johansson has pitted, Andrew Fawcett has pitted. So we were anticipating to take a quick break, but we thought we had a few more laps with the Mustangs. But our lead Mustang group, they have all taken pits right now, which is given P1 back to Daniel Rash in the Mustangs, and he is all by himself right now. He's got a 24-second gap on P2 at Mustang for Niles Sinkowski. So I apologize for our viewers who were not quite expecting the Mustangs to come on through that quickly, but they have made their stops. It looks like all Mustangs are now pitting, as we're saying Lee Molman in the pits. Aaron Lease is now in the pits. That is pretty much everybody, with Alexander Bueller took his pit stop earlier and due to an incident, but that was a quick cycle for our Mustangs as we, right at that 1 hour 16 mark, massive group of Mustangs heading on in. Pit fuel and tires are likely for everybody. This group is settled back out and trying to see if there's any winners or losers in pit lane. It looks like Niles Sinkowski took a very quick stop with a 19 seconds. So I'm not entirely sure what the strategy behind it that was, but everybody else with a 40-second stop with a 40 dead to Alex Coffin is going to be our quickest, probably full field. So David, a very exciting moment right there for all the Mustangs, as that group pretty much hailed in all at once and filed right back out at once, with Daniel Rash, our early pitter, 13 laps into his stint, maintains or regains his lead.
Yeah, Lease and Mullerman on pit lane now as well, and those guys are together for 8th and 9th in class. Well, it's a little bit of dramas in the TCR class because we no longer have our 4-car lead pack. Jack Sedgwick has broken away a little bit. So it really was a case of the first half of the race, everyone's just waiting, trying to save a little bit of fuel, and it comes alive again a little bit in the second half of the race. MX5 class, Travis Schwenke onto the pit lane as well. John D. Allen carries on. He's going to be scored in the lead, but before the pit stops, it was Justin Brunner. So we'll see where all of that shakes out. Quite a long pit stop for the MX5s there. Don't actually fill particularly quickly either.
No, and we're looking at timing and scoring. It looks like, yeah, Travis Schwenke was the second to last car looking to pit here. Everybody else has worked their way through, taken a scheduled or unscheduled, if you're unfortunate, pit stop. But John D. Allen remains out there. Watching him on track, yeah, he's entering the final infield sector here, getting ready to come onto NASCAR 3 and 4. So David, he's squeaked out one more lap. We have seen him in the Champ Car Series be pretty efficient on the fuel before, and he's showing us he can do it again here on a very gas-hungry track like Daytona.
We certainly saw him spend quite a lot of the time in that stint behind Travis Schwenke as well. So that's one of the reasons Schwenke's had to come in. John D. Allen carries on is almost an hour that he spent just riding along behind that other driver. And if he can cut 5 seconds out of his pit lane time, that'd definitely put him within touching distance of Justin Brunner as well. So we'll see what this pit stop is for Allen.
All right, David, we're going to try this one more time. We're going to take a quick break, but this time I'm going to recommend our producer, we hop in, let's see, with Mr. I'm trying to think, is there a good Mustang we can hop in with? Actually, what, David, let's stick up with this TCR group. These guys have been a lot of fun. This is a brand new car, really fun to see the in-car. Let's hop in on board with Simon Trindle in P3. Let's do a few laps with him, and we'll be back in about 1 minute. Hope you guys all enjoyed that nice ride along inside the TCR with Mr. Simon Trendell as we continue to watch Brandon Hawken not give him any relief as he's pretty much been riding his bumper. We could ask our producer to go down to the Miata group as we've got several close battles between P8, P9, and P10 and fields behind that. But let's focus on Rasmus Larson, Nick Hartwood, and Mikey Blanchett. These guys are really battling here. Excuse me. I apologize. My timing scoring is mixing up a little bit here. And yeah, excuse me, Nick Hardwood. Nick Hardwood is working on a battle here with this group. And David, I apologize. I'm trying to find a good battle on track, and my timing and scoring is giving me all sorts of weird data right now.
Well, our closest battles in TCR, everyone's spread out after the pit stops except for second place, Simon Trendell and Brandon Hawken. Jack Sedgwick continuing to try and build out a bit of a lead there. In the Mustangs, Alex Albert and Justin Hall, both of whom have taken presumably their last pit stop. Daniel Rash has 25 or 30 seconds or so in the bag over Nils Senkowski, but both of those will still need to make another pit stop. And in the Mazda class, much shorter pit stop from John D. Allen. He takes 58 seconds of fuel compared to a minute 16 for just about everyone else. So Allen into the lead, and I'm not going to say comfortable, but more than 5 seconds he has over Justin Brunner. So whatever he's done in the first hour and 20 minutes of this race saving fuel, if he's got the numbers right and he can make it to the end from here, it's certainly going to work out for him. He's leading right now.
Yeah, he really is, and he is. He's, like I said, he's proven himself as a Miata master in the Champ Car Series. These cars get pretty close. So yeah, David, he's done some calculations and he feels pretty good about where he is. We've got a whole chunk of time left in this race, just over 1 hour and 1 minute left. So John D. Allen, amazing work in the pit stop. He likely calculated that if he needs to keep his lead, he's got to make it that just under 59 1 minute stop. He's done it, retained the lead. Good work by John D. Allen and his pit crew.
Yeah, indeed. So a little bit of a lull in the racing right now. I mean, everyone was packed together until the pit stops. Then we saw some variation there break apart some of the packs that we had. We know that there's definitely one more pit stop to go in our TCR class, and that will be very, very telling indeed. That might be with 30 minutes to go, or so. A little splash and dash for those cars. Might take this opportunity then to run down our entire field as they run right now out on class. Make sure we give some love to all of our competitors. A big spread of experience and I don't want to say competency out there today, but of course with positions in this grid being awarded, mainly first come, first serve. Had many drivers of different talents and experiences who were enthusiastic about this event showing up. Give some love to all of them. So TCR class, all of the cars out on track running there. It's Jack Sedgwick, Simon Trendell, Brandon Hawken, Dylan Sharman, Giovanni Romano still holding on to 5th place there, ahead of Michael Derby. Paul Mazzia, who has done a good job to gain 3 positions, starting 10th now up into 7th for him. Francisco Jose Romero in 8th is where he started. 9th, Remy David has lost 2 positions but is still running. He's already made 2 pit stops though, so he's a little off cycle. Nicholas Sykes in 10th. Michael J. Fowler is running in 11th in class, but he's behind the Mustang leaders, and he is 2 laps off his class lead. So he is a little down out of the order. All of the cars still out and running on the Mustang class. Aaron, I'll have you have a look at.
Yeah, we've got the very impressive drive from Daniel Rash, who is up in 4 spots in P1 right now, followed by Nils Senkowski, Alex Cofford, Jake Johansson, Alex Albert in P5, Justin Hall P6, Andrew Fawcett up 3 spots in P7, Aaron Lease Andrew Fawcett P7, Aaron Lease P8, Lee Molman, P9. Alexander Bueller, P10 in class. He's up 2 spots. But yeah, David, is a really tough race for Alexander Bueller. And I'll get you started on the old Miatas. John D. Allen in P1, really running some interesting pit strategy, but so far a very strong race. Justin Brunner in P2. Travis Schwenke, P3. Clifford Eben, P4. Robert Noacker, P5. Juan Manuel Fernandez, P6, Sarah Dove, P7, Rasmus Larson, P8, Nick Hartwood, P9, and Mikey Blanchett rounding out our top 10 in Miata. And David, the remainder of the group looks like there's a lot of a few of these guys are sitting up in the club, possibly having a beverage.
Yeah, the party porch on the back straight at Daytona has unfortunately been removed since last year or the year before, but I'm sure there's plenty of other venues around that will quench your thirst. Lease and Mullerman in the Mustang class still battling over 8th place. Both of those guys have made their one pit stop 5 laps ago, so not for the pointy end of that field. But they are still battling over it. I got distracted. Did we do the MX5 field?
Yes, David, we did do the MX5 field. So we've got a few left. We got P11 with Luca Christofi, Andrew Archer, P12, and Nicholas Isidro in P13. And yes, the rest of the group is up in the club area, all joining a beverage and toasting each other for a fun start to the race, but unfortunately they will not be finishing. But David, yeah, we've got a little bit of spread here, but let's try to find some good multi-class action right now.
Jake Johansson and Alex Albert going to be an interesting one to watch, 4th in the Mustang class. Alex Albert drove quite a while with the damage on the front of his car, made it to his pit stop window, and used his one fast repair to get that nose back in factory condition. And he's going quite quick now indeed. His last lap, 2-minute 2.7. Means he's definitely one of the fastest cars in that class. Jake Johansson in front of him didn't quite have the same pace. So now with his car back to preferred condition, new set of tires, and hopefully, fingers crossed, fuel to get to the end, I think Albert can maybe still see a podium in his future in the last hour of this race. So he's closed in on JJ for 4th. And at the rate that he closed on the last lap, we're definitely headed to potentially a pass in this class. They're heading down now towards the bus stop, and they've got MX5 in front of them. They're not quite going to catch him through the middle of the corner, but the exit off the bus stop, very, very critical as it leads you to the incredibly long, sometimes painfully long, full throttle blast down towards turn 1. Both of them go high above. That looks like one of the Asbury Motorsports cars. Could be Travis Schwenke in 3rd in his class. So now side by side. Jake Johansson defending the inside. Much stronger run for Alex Albert up high. They're coming up on one of the racecraft cars. They're going to split it either side. Yes, they are. 3 wide across the stripe there. Scary time to be in that Mazda in the middle, but they navigate it cleanly and might have, if anything, hurt Alex Albert a little bit in trying to get a good run around Jake Johansson, who holds onto the position for now. But I think Albert has got his car back how he likes it, fighting hard.
Yeah, Alex Albert is definitely hungry to get this passed on, and yeah, he's running almost 3 seconds faster than what he was running when he had that damaged car. It looks like difficult situation with the one of the class leading TCRs, or the class running lead running TCRs there.
Yeah, Sharman in 4th in that class, and he comes across the 2 Mustangs battling side by side and has no way to get through despite being in the faster car, Aaron.
No, and I don't think Alex Albert is going to give it up, and these two really don't have a reason. Alex Albert with a very bold move, chopping the nose off of Jake Johansson right there, and we're going to watch Shaman work his way through, and Alex Albert probably hoping for a little bit of tow on this while he can, but wow, what a good bit of driving by all 3 of those drivers right there. Alex Albert, Jake Johansson, and Dylan Shaman. Man, that was pretty scary right there. And Alex Albert with a fantastic opportunity, chop the nose off of Jake Johansson, complete that pass, and taking advantage of that TCR car coming through.
Yeah, indeed. That's been a multi-class racing, isn't it? You know, you're having your own battle, and a faster car comes up, and you don't want to hold them up, but you don't want to give up on your own little battle. And the same is true of that car who comes up on a battle and wants to get through. doesn't want to give it up. Poor run through the bus stop, though, for Alex Albert. Suddenly, a battle pack forming up because it's brought Justin Hall into the picture. He's fueled to get to the end. Nils Sinkowski, always a fast guy in this car, has had to make a second pit stop, and he's come out right behind them as well. So now 4 cars, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth, all who appear to be fueled to get to the end. Justin Hall has had a hell of a run through the bus stop, picked up maybe a double toe. He goes past Jake Johansson. He tries to go side by side with Alex Albert. Now they're coming up on a Mazda on the braking zone for turn 1. They're all going to try and go around the outside. But when it comes to some of these slower corners, the nimble MX-5 can be a little bit quicker. It's really only in a straight line that V8 iron of the Mustang helps them get on through. So we might see 3 wide into the first horseshoe. Nils Sinkowski trying to go down the inside of Jake Johansson gets it done. So Johansson's gone from third back into sixth in a matter of laps, but if he stays in this draft pack, maybe he's still an opportunity to gain some more positions. Hall in fourth, going to put the pressure on Albert in third now.
Yeah, he is. That was such a difficult section for Jake Johansson. Like every bad situation he could have got caught out in, it happened to him in those final 3 sectors. And yeah, we've seen Justin Hall is up in the mix now, and my goodness, this 3-car pack is looking to break away, but Jake Johansson's got to keep up. But David, yeah, that was a tough go for him right there.
And while these guys battle, lose a little bit of time, Daniel Rash sets the fastest Mustang lap of the race, a 2-minute 2.1. So he is pulling away in the lead of the race. The best battle left is this one over the final step on the podium. Still 52 minutes to go, guys, but Hall, big run at Albert towards the bus stop, gives him the bump draft, doesn't take the position. Nils Sinkowski will be watching that with great interest indeed. And I imagine he might have a slightly fresher set of tyres on that car as well, having made his final pit stop, just about 2 laps ago.
Yeah, he's definitely the freshest Mustang out there right now with, just under 2 laps on those tires. He's feeling pretty racy too. Looking at some lap times, but yeah, he's at a 202.8. That's pretty quick. These boys need to tone it down a little bit. Justin Hall obviously got a massive run. Looks like, Jake Johansson's going to pin Justin Hall inside Alex Albert. Alex Albert going to slide high to block into turn 1, but I don't think he's going to quite make that move work. So Nils Sinkowski going to slide back in behind Justin Hall and maintain that position. But is Niles up in there now? No, I apologize. Jake Johansson is a bit behind. I was mixing up my Niles Sinkowski and Jake Johansson. So David, I've mixed up both names now.
Yeah, so Albert then still holds on to the position in this little battle. Nils Sinkowski looking racy. Giovanni Romano in the purple TCR going to work his way through here. Will he find a line to the inside of the second horseshoe? Yes, he does. So he comes on through there without affecting this battle too much. A little bit of battling from the guys in front is going to help Jake Johansson stay in touch. Probably the only 4-car battle we've got going on. They're making their best of it. In TCR, though, we got another battle a little bit further down the order. Paul Mazier has had a bit of a tough lap, and Francisco Jose Romero has found some lap time as well. Close that gap in. Battle for 7th place now overall in the TCRs.
Yeah, Paul Mazier, he's working his way through. I'm trying to see what sector he had a difficult sector, and yeah, he just really gained a whole boatload of time on him. He's going to have an even harder time as we watch Paul Mazier get very close to that Miata right there, the car number 14 of Andrew Archer. Really got a scary moment as Paul Mazier closed out very quickly. I would say Francisco Jose Romero is going to get the preferred run out of here, get right behind that car number 15. Now, this is a situation where you wish you had just a little bit more gear if you get a good run, but Francisco is likely going to drop in right behind Paul Mazier. Let him know that he's there. He's going to maybe take a peek on the outside. I don't know how eager Jose Romero is to make this pass, but David, he's showing his intentions, pulling up to the bus stop here. And if I'm Paul Mazier, I'm just going to lift and let him have this. But that is not going to be the case. We're going to go too wide to the bus stop. No, he's going to lift off. Paul Mazier has given him the spot. Francisco Jose Romero showed his intentions out of NASCAR 1 and 2 and made the pass into the bus stop. Pretty unconventional, a bit scary, but he's going to pull right back under him is Paul Mazier.
Yeah, look, see what Mazir does. He decides he wants it back, pulls up high on the banking. And I think if you're going to get a move done in these cars, that's what you've got to do because you almost end up banging against the rev limiter at the end of the straight. You need to pull out and try and use your momentum early. And then they end up at very, very equal pace. But Jose Romero has the inside. I thought that would be the advantage, but Paul Mazir almost goes all the way around the outside. But Francisco Jose Romero holds onto that one through turn one, and I think he's definitely looked quicker through the infield. It's just the strength of that slipstream that's let Paul Mazia try and come back at him. Swap of positions in that Mustang battle while our eyes were elsewhere. Nils Senkowski is up into third now. He's managed to jump both of our HJ friends in Alex Albert and Justin Hall. So Senkowski on a two-stop strategy, just like our leader Daniel Rash is going to end up being. Rash hasn't taken his second stop yet, so where that drops him back, we'll wait to see. If Senkowski can keep the pace up, these guys might still be in it. They make it to the end, and Rash needs a significant amount of fuel.
Yeah, David, I just went back and looked at how Nils had made a double pass. He actually made it into turn one. Alex Albert had a bit of a moment with a Miata. A door banged it. He got super loose, which caused Justin Hall to slow down. But the massive gap on the inside, Nils being an opportunistic driver, dove inside and made the pass into turn one. David, what a move by him, and he's reaping the benefits right now, riding pretty comfortably in P3 in class.
Yeah, and that Mazda was your leader in that class of John D. Allen. So, yeah, he's lucky he's carried on from that one. But Justin Brunner has closed 3 seconds on him in the last lap. So, battle forming up now as well for the lead in that class. The excitement continues all the way to the end in this race.
Yeah, indeed. This the second group here, John D. Allen. Let's see, he's running about a second and a half ahead of John Brunner. But yeah, he's likely carrying a little bit of side damage. Likely did knock out a toe. He's probably going to be okay, but a bit of a scary moment for John D. Allen is running a bit light on fuel compared to Justin Brunner. He has to be, or we're kind of wondering up here in the booth, does he have enough of the fuel? Is he doing some lifting and coasting? But David, yeah, he's definitely running a bit slower as some of his
Rash on the lane from the lead of the Mustang class. Where he comes out from this pit stop and how much fuel he needs is going to be rather critical indeed. So 46 minutes to go, final stop for Daniel Rash, and you see the car gets lifted up on the side jack on the right. They change those tires, and then lift up the inside as it is around an oval like this for the left-hand side tires. I think Alex Coffard might be close enough that he might take the lead away from Daniel Rash. 27 seconds of fuel. That might have been hamstrung by the time to change the tires there for Rash, because we didn't think he was going to need a whole lot of fuel. Where's Alex Coffard in the picture? Just crossed the line now. So I think Rash just holds on to this one in the lead of the Mustang field. But Alex Coffard behind will be able to see him. This is very, very interesting. The lead for the Mustang field comes down to about 2 seconds. Both of these guys now fueled to the end. Daniel Rash just holds on to the lead, just had enough of a buffer for that pit stop.
Yeah, David, while you're making that great call, we did have a change for the lead in Miata. So Justin Brunner has made the pass on John D. Allen. I've been following along with John D. Allen. David, he is not hitting maximum revs in a lot of these areas. I don't want to say he's short shifting, but he's not pulling full revs on this car as he's working through these laps here. So possibly some fuel savings here, but John Brunner has made the pass, but John D. Allen may be in the position he's in to pull some draft and work that fuel strategy that I think he's gambling on, if you ask me. But we've got a change for the lead in Miata.
Yeah, either John D. Allen is a wizard with that fuel and knows something no one else does, or he is going to be running on fumes right at the end. Because if I read out the pit stop times from everyone else in class, Travis Schwenke, a minute 10, Robert Nowak, a minute 14, Juan Manuel Fernandez, 1 minute 17, John D. Allen, 57 seconds. We're not talking, 5 seconds quicker on the lane. We're talking a solid 15 or so seconds quicker than some of the other drivers. Travis Schwenke might have had some dramas because he's on the pit lane for a second time. I don't think it's fuel. This might be repairs for the Asbury Motorsports driver.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and check to see what has happened to him. But yeah, this is definitely his second time down the pit lane. Very short stop, 9.9 seconds. That is likely a fast repair situation for Travis Schwenke. So unfortunately, to see that he's up 2 spots in this race, David. But he was running a really good race. Don't like to see that.
Yeah, there was a bit of damage on the front of the car when he came into the pit road, and that did get fixed. So I think that must have been the concern for him. Don't know if he's taken a splash of fuel while he was there as well, or maybe a windshield tear off or something. Has yes, definitely dropped him back a little bit. 43 minutes to go, and the battles continue in all three of our classes, the HJ Raw before the 24. Your class leader is Jack Sedgwick in TCR, Daniel Rash in Ford Mustangs, and in the Mazda class, it is Justin Brunner. John D. Allen trying to keep with him. Is he managing to do that?
Yeah, he is watching Justin Brunner dealing with some TCR cars blowing by him. There, be very careful. But yeah, John D. Allen, let's see, in terms of lap times, yeah, David, I think he's settled in exactly where he wants to be. Maybe some crafty strategy that we're not quite privy to, but he has remained pretty tight here on Justin Brunner. I could probably ride along a little bit longer to kind of let you know what he's doing in terms of throttle activation, maybe some lifting, maybe some more short shifting. He's not getting off the corners as strong, so I think that short shifting is continuing for John D. Allen. But David, I think we're all just along for the ride when it comes to where his strategy is going to end up. But John D. Allen knows exactly what he's doing. I would not question him. Like I said, he's been strong in every other series that we covered here on HJBC.
Couple drivers out there who've made a second pit stop, amongst them Nicholas Sykes in our TCR field. Michael J. Fowler took, I was going to say he's taken two, but he's on the lane again for a third pit stop, is Michael Fowler. We still wait to see when the other TCR cars might take a second pit stop. They could probably do it now, fuel to get to the end, but if they're trying to run that car light, there might still be 10 minutes or more away from that. And knowing that Jack Sedgwick in the lead went 3 laps longer than Simon Trendell and Brandon Hawkin, who are in second and third. So he is getting great economy out of that car while still making the speed. Sinkowski, Albert, Justin Hall, that battle still continues, Aaron.
Yeah, it continues. We mentioned probably 3 or 4 laps ago, Nils Sinkowski made a fantastic pass, an opportunistic pass, when Alex Albert had a run-in with John D. Allen going into turn 1. But this group has settled back in, checking on some lap times. And yeah, Nils Sinkowski 203 dead on the last lap. Alex Albert 202.8 and Justin Hall 202.4. So likely some drafting there. But Alex Albert looking pretty eager behind Nils Sinkowski to make a move. We got to remind everybody that Alex Albert is 14 laps in on this fuel and on those tires versus Nils Sinkowski is just 7 laps in, so quite a bit fresher car. Justin Hall is running the same strategy as Alex Albert, 14 laps on this stint. So Nils Sinkowski, in terms of tires, has an advantage, a little heavier on the fuel, but he is making good work of Alex Albert. A very strong exit going into NASCAR 2 and 3, heading into the bus stop.
Yeah, Albert and Hall on the one-stop strategy might still need to save a little bit of fuel, so having Sinkowski in front of them for a couple of laps here, it doesn't appear to be causing any issues at the moment. Sinkowski has just the tiniest amount of damage on the front of his car, and one of the ways you can tell that is as it gets darker here at Daytona, his headlights are not on. Albert had that problem earlier where he lost his headlights, got them back in his pit stop. So Sinkowski not with the tidiest of cars like the drivers behind him, but it doesn't appear visually massively damaged. Just wonder if that lack of headlights might cause him some slight issues later in the race as it gets darker. Of course, there's a little bit of lighting on the banking, but the infield and those horseshoes not quite as illuminated.
No, not quite as limited either. But yeah, we are getting into the very fun and very cool and beautiful dusk period here at the track, David. Temperatures continue to drop. We started this race at 97 degrees. Track temperature is now 79 degrees. So track cooling off quite a bit. Probably the biggest benefit is going to be those TCR cars and those Mustangs, which can typically run some pretty hot tires, and so they're going to really enjoy this break. David, I want to take a quick look at some of the secondary battles from the TCR group. Let's go down to P7 and P8. Francisco Jose Romero and Paul Mazur. These guys have been going back and forth pretty much all race. They've been swapping positions. This battle continues to rage on, but I do want to call out some of these mid-pack drivers that have given us some pretty good driving so far.
Yeah, we saw the 202 here that's now leading. He caught up a lot, made the pass on Paul Mazier, and hasn't been able to leave him in his dust since then. And that's how this TCR car seems to work. That slipstream pretty powerful until it reaches the top of sixth gear, and then the passes, the overtakes get difficult. So Mazier doing a good job to stick with Francisco Jose Romero. And if he's saving a bit of fuel back there, when these guys come to their final stop, that's probably where we'll see the shorter stops from the drivers who managed to save the fuel. Almost everyone ran the tank empty at the first stint, filled it all the way back up, and the drivers who've been more economical are going to have the shorter final splash to get to the end in this class. I think that's where we'll see the difference really emerge from the drivers who've had the feather on the throttle pedal for the last almost 2 hours.
Yeah, it may come down to who's willing to, possibly save, 3/10 in the pits, maybe get out a little earlier. Maybe if you were, a second down on track, you need to gain half a second and maybe even take a risk of feeling just a little bit lighter. I don't think any of these guys in this final splash, it's worth taking tires. That would be a dissonance for any sort of opportunity. So we are just under about 40 minutes left in this race, David. It's been a lot of fun calling it so far. No real big incidents. I think we've seen a few bang ups in the Mustang group. The TCR group has been pretty clean. Monster group just been strong. Where we're going to come down to some fuel strategy, which is why we love this roar format. Is it really comes down to, can you save? How long can you run on that first in, or were you going at the two-stop strategy? As we watch again, Palms here give a look inside Francisco Jose Romero, just can't quite get the job done. But David, we're entering the dicey period here in about 20 minutes or so, as we're going to see these guys really start to panic. Maybe even some lifting and coasting, maybe some different shifting strategies to save as much fuel if they need to.
We've had technical issues for some of our drivers. Had my own little ones just then, but I think I'm back. Travis Schwenke in the last couple of laps managed to put a move on Sarah Dove. So Schwenke, one of the few MX-5 Mazdas that have needed to take a second pit stop, trying to work his way back up through the field. And if anything, this might be a bit of a godsend for Sarah Dove, who's now got someone punching a hole in the air down the long straights of Daytona for her. So that might help her pace a little.
Yeah, it definitely made it help her pace. So as we're watching some Mustangs work their way through this group. But no, I think Sarah Dove, this paint job is quite interesting, Tim. We always like to see good paint job in here. And obviously, everybody with the new types of paint we've seen some chrome paints, we've got some matte paints, some really cool things that the drivers are doing this year. And Sarah Dove with a really good looking paint job here. That's pretty wild. You look at the front of that car, David. It's not quite as flashy in the front because the majority of it is absolutely caked in rubber.
Yeah, it's the Good Smile Racing Japanese Super GT tribute.
Yeah, that is a good looking paint, and that is something that Travis Schwenke is having a good look at, because again, Sarah Dove is hunting him down right now. Let's check on Sarah Dove's fastest lap time is a 2:12 today, which is about 2 seconds off the fastest lap of the race. But she's holding on right with Travis Schwenke, who is running a 2:12.3 in the last lap, and she did a 2:12.6, David. So she's just outside of draft range, but she's running at a pretty strong pace, and she's up 5 spots in this race. So great drive for Sarah Dove so far tonight.
Yeah, tough to say what the draft range is. I think once you get to the really long straights here, you might start noticing it 1.5 seconds back, where some other circuits you'll only really start picking it up about 1 second back. I think Saradov still in that slipstream, still a slipstream for Paul Nazir and behind Francisco Jose Romero as they just go past the MX5 Mazda battle. From the Mustangs, Andrew Fawcett back onto the pit lane for a second time. That's unfortunately cost him a bit of time there. So we'll see where he shakes out and if any repairs or anything was needed for him. Do you see a problem for Andrew Fawcett in the 94?
No, I was just looking at that myself, and the
Either
car.
way and rolling now, okay.
Yeah, the car looked clean, but that was a fairly lengthy stop for Andrew Fawcett. That was a 50-second stop, which is a 10-second slower stop than what he had done before. So I'm not entirely sure what that was. He definitely took way too much fuel to close out this race, David. So I'm not entirely sure what happened to Andrew Fawcett, but tough times. We've seen him be very competitive in this race, but I feel that with just over 33 minutes left in this race, that long pit stop may have put him out of contention for a stronger finish.
Yeah, indeed. Where does he come out? In eighth place. So he sort of splits Aaron Leese and Lee Mullerman, who were battling earlier. So he might still be able to get one position from Aaron Leese, who's just 3 seconds behind. And the next car up the road of Jake Johansson, gosh, it's almost a whole lap up the road, is it? It's looking a minute 45 seconds. So just underneath that. But yeah, he's got one position that might be a low hanging fruit. And then after that, bit of a tough slog for Andrew Fawcett, unfortunately. I think at this point in the race, we still got that battle going on in the Mustangs where Albert and Hall on their one-stop strategy words are trying to keep the draft behind Nils Sitkowski. But then we just got to keep an eye out on when will some of these TCR cars make their second pit stop. Our top 8 overall are only one stop in, and of course, going to need another.
Yeah, they will need another. Indeed, we're watching Justin Hall struggle a little bit to keep up with Nils and Alex Albert. And watching Alex Albert, tap the brakes, tap the brakes quite a bit earlier, going to stop there. So we saw he had a bit of an incident earlier on in the race with a braking issue with one of our other drivers. Alex Albert is showing a little more caution following a car entering this bus stop. But yeah, David, we're really starting to keep an eye on what these TCR cars are going to do. They are. Our oldest TCR car on track is P2, Simon Tedell. He's done 27 and a half laps on those tires. That is the oldest running car on the track, versus Jack Sedgwick in P1, 24 and a half laps on those tires. So a little leaner. Their pit stop time's about a 1 second slower for Jack Sedgwick, but he's doing okay on the strategy. But yeah, we're coming into that point.
You ready for a bold prediction, Aaron?
David, I'm always down for a good bold prediction. If you're going to.
Jack Sedgwick might come in a little bit early this time compared to the other guys. He's just put in basically one of his best laps of the race. He started to put the hammer down again. We saw the battle between Paul Mazier and Francisco Jose Romero. The longer named of the two drivers has jumped into the pit lane that releases Paul Mazier. That is one of those cars now taking their second pit stop to get to the end. And knowing that it's only a splash kind of remaining, it's definitely possible that some of the guys could come in earlier rather than leaving it as late as possible. But even if they leave this second stint as late as they can possibly go, almost everyone just scratched out an hour in the first stint. They scratch out an hour in the second stint. Then we're going to have them on pit lane again in about 6 minutes or less. I think we've seen a lot less drafting and slipstream in this second stint. So maybe within the next 5 minutes, we'll see everyone, maybe with the exception of Jack Sedgwick, on the lane.
David, I love that prediction, but you were right. Jack Sedgwick on that last lap put down an absolute steamer, a 157.2 versus Simon Trudeau and Brandon Hawken, 157.9. So, David, that is significantly quicker than some of those other guys. And I apologize for my use of steamer. I don't think that was an appropriate comment for the broadcast.
It kind of works. Michael Derby, another TCR car on the lane to take his final splash of fuel. Interesting to know that Francisco Jose Romero took 47 seconds of fuel, so he might have overfilled that thing, or he took a set of tires and had to wait on that. Guess we'll see what some of the other guys do. Michael Derby's in his pit stall, been about 14 seconds now, and the hose is still connected, filling that up. We'll see what his pit lane time, or yes, pit box time looks like, how much time he spends stationary getting service done. Approaching 30 seconds. So has he decided another set of tires was the go, or what's it going for Derby?
Yeah, I'm seeing the car never went up on jacks. The car remained planted, all four tires, all rubber on the ground. So Derby, he is just taking fuel. And David, we haven't said his name
Tough.
too much in this race.
Yeah, he's been sort of in the mid pack. It's a tough pit exit here at Daytona, and he scraped the wall on his way out of the pit lane. So a bit of understeer, scrapes that concrete wall that separates the pit exit from the racing line. If that wall wasn't there, he would have carried out onto the racing circuit out of control. So not a good pit exit there, unfortunately, for Michael Derby. And we've seen it can be quite easy on cold tires to make that mistake. He wasn't on cold tires. Simon Trendell from second onto pit road for his final stop. Dylan Sharman out of fourth. Brandon Hawken continues into second place, and Jack Sedgwick also continues. So some of our top 5 guys, not a branded promotion, that though. If they want to send us something, I guess we can work something out. Onto the pit lane for their final stop. Trendell only takes 28 seconds of fuel. We'll see what Sharman does, but some of the other drivers in this second stint still trying to conserve that fuel to make a short final stop. Jack Sedgwick carries on.
Yeah, and a note for Simon and Sharman, both of those cars did take tires, and like Michael Derby, and they actually were they're actually quicker than Derby stuff. So Derby did not elect for tires, but Simon Trudell and Dylan Sharman both took tires. So David, these guys are fueled and tired for the remainder of this race. They're going to be putting down some of their best laps, as that track temperature has dropped 1 more degree. So we're going to see some really good laps, and I anticipate that Jack Sedgwick fastest lap of 1:56.4 could be falling here probably in the next 15 minutes or so.
Long stop for Sharman, 51 seconds compared to Trendell's 28 seconds. And Sharman was sort of knocking on the door of the top 4 as it was. And now that's going to drop him 20 seconds further back. He might, maybe even to the clutches of Giovanni Romano. So we'll see what happens when Romano takes his final stop. But if the pit stop times of the other competitors is anything to go by, Dylan Sharman has either taken on too much fuel or had some other issue in that pit stop. It's dropped him out of contention for a podium as things stand at the moment, I would think.
Yeah, and that longer pit stop, David, has put him in a whole group of traffic here. He has a whole bunch of Mustangs in front of him and a couple Miatas as well. He's got 2, 4, 6, 7 cars in front of him that he's going to have to work through, David. This is not going to be in his favor with that longer pit stop. It's put him in a very difficult traffic position. As you watch him pedal behind 2 cars right now, he's probably going to have to split them if he can. Probably going to take the middle line here. Kind of dangerous coming in NASCAR 2 and 3, but David, he's got a lot of work in front of him.
Yeah, an uphill battle, and when the other drivers in the class pit will do a sort of a recap on where that all shakes out, but he is a minute behind Giovanni Romano. So if Romano only needs 25 seconds of fuel, add on the pit lane time to that, they'll be very close indeed. Romano hasn't been part of the top pack of 4 since they broke away right at the start of the race, but he's been doing his own thing and still relatively competitive on the timing. I'm just not sure about the fuel consumption, where he did pit a lap earlier than Brandon Hawken and some of the other drivers around the top there.
Yeah, watching lap times here. Again, there's some of these guys we knew that took tires, and so we're still waiting for them to work through their first one. So Simon Trindle, he's coming through NASCAR 3 and 4 right now, so he's taking his pit stop, brand fresh tires and fuel. Same with Dylan Sharman, but yeah, he's David. He's still working his way through that second round of traffic, and it looks like he's picked up a few more cars as well, as some of these other cars are just a bit cycled through. So my goodness, he's got a lot of work to do, but Simon Trudell working his way through. So David, we're a bit spread out on track again.
Fawcett and Lease in the Mustangs. We mentioned Andrew Fawcett having to take what might have been an unscheduled extra pit stop. He then caught up to Aaron Lease, passed him into turn 1 on this lap, and we'll see if he holds on to that one. I imagine he might. The pace advantage has been mostly to Andrew Fawcett, I think.
Yeah, I think it is too. I was keeping a satellite eye on both those two. They've been kind of going back and forth and back and forth. David, I want to make a quick check down into our Miata group. John D. Allen, his strategy of staying with John Brunner as close as he can. That strategy is being challenged right now. As John Brunner has pulled about a second and a tenth gap on him. So this is not helping his strategy of potential fuel savings. Remember, we have seen John D. Allen, what we assume was a short fuel in order to make it to the end. 57 or 58-second stop versus everybody else was about a minute 15, minute 13. So John D. Allen really struggling with his strategy. If he cannot get back up to Josh Brenner, I'm not quite sure how long he's been out of that draft, but he needs to get back up there, from what we presume, to make the strategy work.
Yeah, he's just in the draft, but he's not right up on the bumper, and I'm not. I think he might need to be a little bit closer to save the most fuel. It's all about, does he stay close through the infield, and can he save a bit through there as well? He got a great run through turn 1, which puts him just 1 car length back from Justin Brunner. So I don't think John D. Allen is out of this, but our leader in TCR on the pit lane, Jack Sedgwick, is going to come in for his final stop with 22 minutes to go. Brandon Hawken in second also hasn't taken the final stop, so he follows him in as well. Where these guys come out can be absolutely critical, so we'll keep our eye on that, knowing the fastest pit stop we've seen out of the other guys, 28 seconds for Simon Trendell, 27.5 for Giovanni Romano. Anything longer than about 30 seconds will be a problem for Jack Sedgwick.
Yeah, it definitely will. So let's keep an eye on what these
strategy here. Tires for Sedgwick, no tires for Brandon Hawken. They're both on the lane together, and Hawken's car firmly on the ground. Sedgwick's car went up on the jacks, drops down off the jacks, gets rolling. Just 25 seconds of fuel for him. So Sedgwick, who saved huge fuel in the first stint, looks like he's done it again in the second stint. Hawken rolling after 23 seconds of fuel, but he's still going to be just a bit too far back off of Jack Sedgwick, who comes out of his pit stop still in the lead of the race and presumably fueled to get to the end. So really, I think the strategy and the fuel saving has worked to the advantage of Jack Sedgwick more than the on-track speed.
Yeah, Jack Sedgwick, a really good call here. He's got he's going to work his way through. Yeah, David, he has very minimal traffic in front of him. He's just made it past that Miata. He's got 2 other cars in front of him that are equally spread out. So, David, if he can stretch his legs, if he's feeling good in that car, this is a real good opportunity for him to make sure that gap between Brandon Hawken remains at what it is now. About 6 seconds. David, I think he may have made the call of the race right there with some pretty good strategy. What great work by Jack Sedgwick.
And it's interesting that now that we've seen all of those pit stops come through, Simon Trendell's 28-second stop seems a little bit long because it's 5 seconds longer than Brandon Hawken, and he's come out 5 seconds behind Brandon Hawken. So if Hawken has the fuel to get to the end, then he's pulled a bit of a move, bit of a coup d'etat on Simon Trendell. It's spaced out all of our top cars, and Hawken has tried to shake Simon Trendell through the pit stops if he has taken enough fuel to get to the end. Simon Trendell, of course, we saw led quite a lot of the laps in the first stint, now 14 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, just really difficult kind of second half for him. We're going to ask our producer to cut down the never-ending battle between Nils Senkowski and Alex Albert. They're working their way through some Miata traffic. Oh, we watched car number 23 almost gives Alex Albert, our leader, Miata leader, and number 23, Justin Butler, almost gives Alex Albert a little love tap on the left side of the bumper there. A bit of a scary moment, but this group continues to battle through, and a bit of a scary moment again for our Miata leader, Justin Butler, has almost had some contact with our P4 runner and Mustang, Alex Albert.
Yeah, I think working the way through the traffic's cost Justin Hall a little bit. He's almost dropped the draft on Senkowski and Albert, which is interesting to see. Albert in the draft now, coming down towards the bus stop. 20 minutes to go. Does he still ride along? When does he get the elbows out and try to battle? He rolls out of the throttle on the way towards the bus stop. He's not attacking now. Has he hit the magic fuel number where he can attack yet? or is he thinking that if he starts battling now, it's just a risk to throw away the race when you can save it till the last 5 minutes maybe?
Yeah, we're just gonna. I think the only thing we can do is just observe his driving style. He is 24 laps into the stint. He did do an average pit stop of 40.8 seconds. But yeah, Nelson Kelsey is still with a big advantage. Oh, we watch Alex Albert diving to the inside, but David, he's lifting.
Yeah, well,
It,
Sikowski went high, ro- uh, rolled out of the throttle, tried to make Albert take it, and then I think Albert's tried to roll out of it as well. So neither of these guys actually at this point want to lead it. But that lets Albert through into third, and I wonder if that might help Justin Hall close back in just a little bit. They've got, I think that's Michael Derby in the TCR car trying to come through as well, and he might just get the better run off the first horseshoe and swing his way on through and try not do what he can to not disturb this battle. But if he does, it might help Justin Hall get back into the picture. I'm sure he wants to be in the draft of these guys.
Yeah, that was such a strange moment in the trial between those two because, yeah, Nilson Kowski went high and you heard him lift, and then Alex Albert dove inside and you heard him lift, and you heard them both blipping the throttle going back and forth. Neither of them wanted the position from what it sounded like. So I don't know if Alex Albert is where he wants to be right now. And yeah, this is playing right into the hands of Justin Hall, who is on the same pit strategy and fuel strategy as Alex Albert, both on 25 laps. But yeah, Alex Albert, David, I don't think he wanted that spot.
Yeah, that speaks to maybe he still needs to save just a little bit more fuel. We saw Michael Derby coming through there, compromised Albert's run onto the oval just a little bit, which helps Justin Hall close on these two just a little bit more. He's not within 1 second, but if he's within 1.5 seconds, he'll be getting the fuel saving, he'll be getting the draft and that extra speed down the straights. The only other battle going on out there, we've still got John D. Allen holding on to Justin Brunner for the lead of Mazda MX-5s, but Juan Manuel Fernandez and Robert Noaker starting to battle over fourth place, and seeing the trailing car of Fernandez was just slightly quicker on the last lap around.
Yeah, just slightly quicker. Yeah, just by just by 700s. Watching some sector times, and yeah, Robert Norker a little better on the infield in terms for Juan Manuel Fernandez, but Juan Manuel Fernandez, he is within half a second. That is going to get him a draft. He's going to get nice and caught up as they work their way through NASCAR 1 and 2. Going to enter into the butt stop as we got a beautiful view of the sunset here in front of us now. It's really nice to see that. Track temperature remains steady at 78 degrees. Juan Manuel takes a bit of a casual look inside. Nice little lift entering the bus stop. Both of them taking clean lines. Clip the left, clip the right, and then clip the left one more time. So clean lines for both of these guys, David. And Juan Manuel Fernandez, he's going to get himself a nice little pole going through the trial over here. I don't think we're going to see a pass this time around, but clean laps for these two. And I think Juan Manuel Fernandez, he's definitely not done with this. He's up 7 spots in this, but Robert Noacker, he's up 18 spots in this race. I believe he did not qualify, so he's had to do quite a bit of work, and he's shown he's strong in the spot he's in.
Yeah, indeed. Body language from Fernandez says that he's content to ride along for just a little bit longer. It's 8 laps to go now, 15 minutes remaining. Albert and Sinkowski have swapped positions for third in the Mustang again ish.
Yeah, David, I'm trying to go back and see what has happened again, but I think I may need to go back a little further than that. But I think
They
this
are
just continues.
Yeah, they are bumper to bumper on the banking right now on the live pictures, and Sinkowski right up underneath Alex Albert. So I think the history is history, but now they are bumper to bumper heading towards the start finish line. All the headlights come on for all of our cars, and we are racing into the sunset. And actually, that's happened about when I'd hoped it would, with 15 minutes to go in the race.
Yeah, and I was listening on board with Nils Sinkowski, and that was a massive lift, David. He crossed the start finish line, and you could hear him rolling out of the throttle as soon as he crossed the start finish. So, yeah, he is right where he wants to be in terms of saving for fuel strategy. I think if anybody's going to be worried, I think it's definitely going to be Alex Albert in terms of what he can do left. As we watch a car go very wide,
Fawcett goes
saving.
a lap down to these guys, and there's getting out of the way, but he jumped onto the grass. I just think he maybe didn't know what Alex Albert was going to do. Decided he'd take no chances in that one. Unconventional, but no contact made between anyone, and I think Fawcett gets it back on the bitch.
Yeah, I want to say safety first in terms of getting out of the way, but I don't know if the grass is always the safest route. But yeah, we watched this continued mind games play out between Alex Albert and Nils Sinkowski. This is the battle of the lift. It's who's softer on the pedal and who wants to lead and who doesn't. And I think right now neither of them want to lead. And Justin Hall is trying to work his way back and getting a little bit of a pull from the very generous Andrew Fawcett. It's Andrew Fawcett. Maybe he's going to skip the bus stop this time, David, and in terms to avoid Justin Hall. But I don't quite know. But I think Justin Hall may also be doing his own bit of saving. So I don't know how aggressive he's going to be catching up to the MPGing Alex Albert and Nils Sinkowski.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see Sinkowski act like he's trying to save fuel when he pitted later. Was he just too fine? Told the refueling guy, yeah, that's enough too early on his most recent pit stop. I don't know, but they've swapped positions. They're both rolling out of the throttle here, there, and saving a bit of fuel. Sinkowski right up to the bumper, but rolls out of the throttle once more as they cross the start-finish line. Where are they compared to the leader? I think these guys might get 6 or 7 more laps of racing in. And it'll probably all come down to that run out of the bus stop on the final lap, as happens in so many of these races here at Daytona.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of the MPGing, let's not forget the other MPG battle we have down in Miata. John D. Allen, we continue to be fascinated by what he's done in terms of fuel saving. He's working his way through the tri-oval right now, still following Justin Brunner. He's got his way back with him, following that draft, just kind of running his own line, working their way through some lap traffic. Ooh, clipping a bit of the grass there. Got to be careful going through that section right there. John D. Allen, I really think he's in the spot he wants to be. We're still a bit concerned that his pit stop was almost 15 seconds shorter than everybody else. Oh, the car number 86, the TCR car of Simon Trudell, almost smacks in John D. Allen, working their way through this group here. So, David, what do you think John D. Allen has done? We've seen him do this before, but 15 seconds is a heck of a lot of, in terms of a fuel shortage fill at this track where you really need to carry as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, I mean, it's he's definitely the outlier in terms of fuel taken at the pit stop. He's run now most of the race in a draft. Maybe he can do it. We've seen he's rolling out of the throttle here, rolling out of the throttle there, maybe taking some short shifts as well for whatever advantage that gives him. Either we'll see him peel into the pit lane with 2 laps to go, or he'll stay out there and give it everything and hope it doesn't cough too hard coming to the line. It's going to be a nail biter for sure, and I think it's only John D. Allen who knows whether he's really in this one for the win.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, even if he does have enough gusto to get the pass done at the end. I mean, if you need to cough it past, that's not going to help you. Where you need to the pedal absolutely mash to the floor to get yourself a good run to the tri-oval. Like you that final lap, that final sector, NASCAR 1 and 2 bus stop, NASCAR 3 and 4, you can't be fuel saving if you want to make the pass. And the draft in the Miata is good, but you know that Justin Brunner's not just gonna give it to him easy. So yeah, we're just right at about 10 minutes left in this race, David, and I think we're going to start seeing some very interesting sector times coming through, and maybe even some more interesting lap times come through. These guys are probably going to be dropping almost a second or more a lap.
Not an extra pit stop, but I think some of the cars that were retired coming back out onto the track like zombies. I see Mehdi Alfa and Luca Crisafi, 2 drivers who were effectively retirements in their MX-5 class, now come out together. They are, well, Mehdi is 54 laps off the lead, and Luca Krisafi nine laps off the lead, and Matey spins. Does he collect Justin Brunner? Is that what's gone on?
Dave, he has. This is a very strange moment here. These cars, these are, I guess, celebratory laps. But my goodness, then one of the cars come out, spun right in front of John Brunner, and John Brunner has made contact with that car, and the other car is also. David, this is very dangerous. I am not sure what these cars are doing, but this is not where they need to be right now in front of these leaders. And unfortunately, John Brunner has made contact with one of those cars that has come out 54 laps down and made contact. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Yeah, not wrong to come out of the pit lane and try to see the checkered flag, but if that's how you're driving, you're interfering with the battle that's been going on. Don't approve of that. The one saving grace here is I'm looking at Justin Brunner's car and not actually seeing any damage on it, despite the fact we did see those two cars make a little bit of contact there. Bit of a glancing blow, relatively low speed. I think Justin Brunner will be counting his lucky stars that hasn't damaged his car more than it has. He might have just dodged a bullet on that one.
Yeah, it was definitely a glancing blow, but at no point do you ever want to make car contact at all. So I think he's going to be okay for now. But yeah, John D. Allen was able to avoid that. But yeah, David, that was a very strange moment in the race here. Those cars 54 laps down. I'm totally okay with coming back on track and running a few extra laps, but that was a really dangerous time to
Sinkowski,
come out.
Albert, side by side, coming down towards one of the horseshoes, is now the point where they're going to battle for it with about 5 laps to go. Sinkowski has the inside net.
Yeah, he's got the inside now, and they've got some traffic that they're going to hit. Alex Albert is going to be at an absolute disadvantage here. Be careful on the braking. So Sinkowski's always going to. Whoa! Excellent driving by both drivers.
Because of the 14, which is Andrew Archer. Andrew Archer just holding his line, but it checks up Sinkowski. Albert comes through into the lead of this battle. Justin Hall is back at them now as Jack Sedgwick, our overall leader, is going to put them 1 lap down. 3 Mustangs bumper to bumper while a TCR car swoops around the outside. This is what you want from this race. It builds up to a crescendo. Everyone trying to manage their fuel, and they got some MX-5s they're going to have to come on past as well. Sarah Dove, and who else is that there? Travis Schwenke. This really, really hurts Nils Sinkowski, and Alex Albert might have his breakaway with 4 laps to go.
My goodness, was that a breakaway? Oh, and we're going to watch. Oh, David, I don't know if I know about this move. Oh, my goodness, Justin Hall
trying to pass on the apron. That is not quite how you want to do it. Sinkowski up high, gets his nose in front, but I think Hall just managed to keep the throttle pinned, passing down on the apron. Not what you want to do, but he was trying to take the inside there, the corner approach, and he was down on the apron while everyone else was up on the banking.
Yeah, he made the pass on Sarah Dove, and then Travis Schwenke, I mean, he had every right to his line, and Justin Hall just could not get it done, and Schwenke had no intentions of moving, so Justin Hall had no choice, and luckily he was able to stay outside the cones, which would have given him a course cut, which would have been a death sentence for the rest of his race. So, David, pretty exciting moment right there.
Yeah, certainly pretty almost race defining as well in that class for those guys. So yeah. Albert now gap 3 seconds ahead of Nils Sinkowski, because Albert made his way past some of those Mazdas before the bus stop. Sinkowski checked up hard, and has to go all the way up higher around them on the exit. Can Sinkowski close up maybe 1 second, 1.5 seconds to get back in the slipstream, or is Alex Albert gone?
I'm not entirely sure. Alex Albert, he's likely done the fuel calculations in his head. We're coming up to 5.5 minutes left in this race. He is 31 laps deep on this fuel stint. I think he may be feeling good right now, David. The way he's driving.
John D. Allen, not enough fuel to make it to the end. He peels onto the lane for 11 seconds of fuel. Justin Brunner continues in the lead of the race, and that's just about that sorted. John D. Allen just too aggressive with the fuel drop in his first pit stop, and I don't think he needed to be, but he's got the numbers wrong, and with 3 laps to go, has to peel into the lane for a little bit more fuel. Justin Brunner, the right pace, and called the strategy right. John D. Allen has tried to play the knife edge, and I think it's cut him.
Yeah, you're definitely right, and that is open the door just a little bit to car P3 Clifford Eben, who we have not really called out in this race at all. But I think John D. Allen has to deal with any sort of traffic. Clifford Evan um, running a very consistent race and kind of bit by himself. But yeah, a little bit of opportunity for him. He's going to be about 9 seconds back. But David, he may have a sniff of a P2 if John D. Allen runs into any traffic trouble.
Certainly possible indeed. Sun now almost below the horizon. Headlights becoming brighter on the screens. That means the track temperature cooling is cooled very, very greatly. I'm seeing my timing screen light up with drivers setting personal best lap times, including Francisco Jose Romero in 8th place, who has to try and catch and pass Paul Mazier for maybe the second or third time in this race.
Yeah, he really is. And we're watching this group, and David, they're about to run through a big old train of Mustangs and some Miatas. So this always goes wide. Paul Mazier goes wide. And yeah, Francisco Romero dives in, and David, he's grabbed that spot. What a move.
Yeah, the traffic distracting Paul Mazier just a little bit, got into the corner too hot, pushed out wide, and that's great driving from Francisco Jose Romero to see the gap go down the inside. A very, very clean move for 7th in your TCR class. We're about to go a further lap down to Brandon Hawken. Dylan Sharman sets his personal best lap of the race. Jack Sedgwick crosses the line this time. He'll have 2 laps left in the inaugural HJ Raw before the 24. Some other battles yet to be decided. Like example, Nils Sinkowski has bridged that gap to Alex Albert, got back into it. We thought maybe Albert had the breakaway. He doesn't. Sinkowski is not going to give up on that fight for 3rd in that class.
Yeah, I really think this is going to be the battle to watch here at the very end. Nils Sinkowski has pulled 2/10 in this second. David, he's pretty much pulled about 2/10 in every single sector. He's going to get a very nice pull from these Miatas right here. And I think by the end of this straight, he's going to be in the draft, and he's going to be right in Alex Albert's bumper, and he's going to have a whole rear view full. Nils Sinkowski, he's probably doing pretty good on the fuel. Alex Albert, we still don't quite know, but this could be the battle to watch to the end from the Mustang group.
Yeah, another one forming up is that Simon Trendell's pulled a little bit of time back on Brandon Hawkins since the pit stops. It's now 3 seconds. If he can get lucky through some of the traffic, and there's still plenty of traffic out there, he could be in with a shot on the final lap. Hawkins got some traffic of his own class. He's closing this battle in the Mustangs, and that might become critical, because if Albert and Sinkowski go too wide in front of Brandon Hawkins, that will really let Simon Trendell close the gap back up. Albert runs a bit wide on the second of the horseshoe, squirrely putting the power down. Now he's trying to defend from Nils Sinkowski. They drop back in line right as Brandon Hawkins arrives in his Movano Sim Racing Team Audi TCR. What will happen here? They're on the banking now. Sinkowski going to try and go around the outside, but there's plenty of room here for Brandon Hawkins to not be impeded. What about when Simon Trendell catches? Still side by side, Albert, Sinkowski. Albert's going to have the inside and the low line.
Yeah, he is. Alex Albert really giving Sinkowski absolutely no room at all in terms of Alex Albert very late on the base. I think Sinkowski's going to play it smart here. Let Alex Albert dive by, possibly get a better run out of the bus stop. Yeah, he's got the power to really get Alex Albert with the fantastic bus stop, even though he didn't have the preferred entry. So Nils Sinkowski going to have another run. And David, has Jack Sedgwick, has he triggered a white flag yet?
Yes, he has. From what I see, this is the last lap of the race. Jack Sedgwick, one more tour of the circuit, and what was a bumper-to-bumper draft pack in TCR class for a lot of the race, he's built out his gap to 20 seconds. So we'll definitely come back and look at him at the end of this race. It's tough to take our eyes away from that Mustang battle at the moment, I think.
Yeah, Nils give it another peek as we're watching the P3 TCR car. Simon Trendell, he's in a difficult spot. He wants to get by, but these guys are obviously not going to let him by easily. I think Simon may realize the situation he's come up on. Here is Nils Sinkowski looking to give Alex Albert a little bit of a bump. So this is going to be a difficult spot for Simon to work his way by. Alex Albert is going to get pinched on the inside here. That's not going to be preferred. He could set up a move for Nils Sinkowski to enter in here. He's going to be faster in the sector. No, he's going to hold back. David, I think he's going to look for a drafting opportunity rather than infield pass.
Yep, these guys are going to be just behind our TCR leader when our TCR leader crosses the line. So probably have to see the TCR leader cross the line and then look back at Albert and Sinkowski.
Wow, was that a scary moment? That Miata tank slept right in front of Alex Everett. I think Alex Everett had to lift a little bit. David, that was almost absolute disaster for Alex Everett with that tank slapping Miata in front of him.
Yep. So here we are on the final lap. Jack Sedgwick has no corners between him and the checkered flag. He's coming through 3 and 4 on the banking towards the checkered flag, and a perfect strategy execution, little time as possible on the pit road, makes Jack Sedgwick the winner of the inaugural HJ Raw before the 24 2020. Congratulations to him. But Sinkowski now with his nose in front of Albert.
Yeah, David, Alex got a terrible run out of the bus stop, but I think he's going to have a little bit of draft from that Miata. I think Jack Sedgwick, if he's smart, he's going to pinch Alex Albert right down with that Miata. Yeah, he's going to do it. They're going to split the Miatas. David, this is going to be wild.
To the apron
Alex,
goes Alex Albert. He's got his nose in front. He's all the way down to the line, 3 wide with a Mazda, but Alex Albert just gets it, picks up the slipstream off the other classes, takes the shorter run to the line. Nils Sinkowski made him work for it, and those two guys raced fairly, raced hard all race. So congratulations to both of them. Any other battles out there? I think I see Travis Schwenke and Sarah Dove might still be a battle continuing on the Mazda class.
yeah, you are right. We got Sarah Dove on the outside coming through NASCAR 4. This is where you try and work that side draft as much as you can. Sarah Dove has got the advantage right now, but Travis Schwenke is going to have a little bit of a shorter run. He's going to take the apron, try and get as much as he can, but no, Sarah Dove is going to pull through for a fantastic run, a finishing P5 in class. Great work with Sarah Dove.
Yeah, fantastic indeed. 2 different classes with their side-by-side battles to the checkered flag. That's what we like to see here at Daytona. Congratulations to our winners in those 2 little battles. A couple cars still out there yet to cross the checkered flag. In fact, I think the last one I see might have been Luca Crisafi or Daniel Rash, our Mustang leader. He's done a great job. He's going to come across the checkered flag now. 2 pit stops this strategy for him, but he had the pace to make it work. So congratulations to the number 28 car there as well. Aaron, I think it's time we go to our full finishing order standings, and we'll mix it up, and I'll let you start with the TCR.
Thank you, David. Well, we have made our way through the first HJ Roar before the 24, and that was a lot of fun. David, congratulations to Jack Sedgwick with a very interesting fuel strategy, very interesting pitch strategy. He has come away with the TCR win tonight. Brendan Hawken, P2, Simon Treadell, P3, Giovanni Mano, P4, running out our top 5, Dylan Sharman, Michael Derby, P6, Francisco Jose Romero, P7, Paul Mazier, P8, Remy David, P7, and Nicholas Sykes in Paul Azir in P8, Remy David P9, Nicholas Sykes P10, Michael Fowler in P11, just not have a good night, Thomas Ellison, Daniel Thompson, and Matthew Warner rounding out the top group there. David, you can have the Mustangs.
Well, yes, indeed. Daniel Rash with the fastest lap in that class. He had the pace we thought was a 2-stop strategy, a mistake, but it's not. He's our winner there. Alex Coffard run a little bit of a quiet race there with his 1-stop strategy to grab 2nd place in the end, looking at about 30 seconds off the lead, and actually just 5 seconds in front of that battle we had between Albert and Sinkowski, where Albert squeaks his nose across the line for the final step on the podium. Nils Sinkowski, well done to him with 4th place. Justin Hall in 5th. Jake Johansson gets 6th. Andrew Fawcett 7th in class. Aaron Lease 8th in class. Lee Mullerman finishes 9th in class. And then the retirements from our Mustangs is Alexander Bueller, Marcus Gestal, and thunderstorms in his area for Jorge Saligo, forcing him out of the race, regrettably.
And finishing out our final class tonight, the Mazda Miata. Congratulations to Justin Brunner finishing in P1, up 7 spots from where he started. And P2, John D. Allen with a very aggressive strategy, and I really thought he may have worked it out. With 5 minutes left, he had to grab a pit stop, so gladding himself a P2. P3 in class, Clifford Eben, P4-1, Emmanuel Fernandez, P5, Sarah Dove. We saw an exciting battle coming to the tribal, just beating out Travis Winky in P6. Nick Hartwood, P7, Rasmus Larson, P8, Mike Blanchett, P9, and running out the top 10, Andrew Archer. Luca de Cravasi, Chris Krisafi in P11, Andrew Nowalker P11, Nicholas Isardo P13, and then our retirements, card number 77, Mendy E. Afati, P15, Kane Halliburton, P16, Derek Holland, and I believe Austin Knight was never able to grid this evening. Whew, David, 43 cars, just a hair under 2.5 hours of racing. I am exhausted. Do we have any interviews? I know not everyone may have been able to hop into the booth tonight, David, but we'd love to talk to somebody.
Yeah, well, who we've got right now is that man in that very, very interesting photo finish in the Mustang class. Alex Albert, race long battle, or at least the last stint long battle there with Nils Sinkowski. You got it at the end.
Yeah, just first of all, I want to apologize to Neil's fans and Niels and his team for the punt I gave him in the opening stint. Glad it didn't impact his race too much. I think it might have cost him a chance at the win, but glad he was still able to battle for a podium. But yeah, lots of fun racing against him the whole way.
Tell us the fuel strategy there, because we did end up with a bit of a split for the Mustangs. Our winner, Daniel Rash, on a two-stop. Nils Sinkowski on a two-stop. How much fuel saving in the first stint, and how close was the number at the end there?
Yeah, at the end it was very close. My teammate Alex Cofford, who finished second, ran out coming off the banking on the last lap, and I ran out just after the start finish line. So it was pretty close. We were managing it in the first half of the race, but I wouldn't say it was too troublesome. Definitely towards the end, though. We had to keep an eye on it. At one point, I think Niles was kind of even close on fuel because he forced me to go ahead. He lifted and wouldn't go until I passed him. So with about 10 to go or so. So I think everyone, even the two stoppers, were pretty close on gas.
Sunset at Daytona, big swing in the track temperatures. Did you feel that out there behind the wheel?
Oh yeah, it was a great time of day. Big props to the organizers for organizing it at this time in sim. It was really beautiful out there. The cooling track did help. So the thing that slowed me down the most in the middle part of the race, though, was I made contact with a spinning car in turn 6, a Miata, and after that, my car was 2 or 3 seconds a lap off the pace. It was just really slow on the banking, and I think down on a little bit of power, but was able to use the fast repair at the stop, and then we were right back on pace. And I would also like to say big props to Justin Hall. Really strong pace tonight. So good on him.
Well, thanks for finding the time to speak with us, and congratulations standing on the podium in the Mustang class there, Alex. I got to give you the opportunity. Any other thanks you need to throw out there?
I just want to thank all of the Team UJass people. And thanks to everyone over there at HJBC. Thanks to Kyle and Aaron and yourself for putting on this race, or for broadcasting it. And thanks to you for organizing it, and all the guys that helped you. So it's just been a really great event. I hope we can do another one here soon, and glad I was able to get a pretty good finish out of it.
Cheers, and hopefully we'll see you again in a future HJ event. I know you'll definitely hear about it. We won't let you get away from that. So we'll move from one driver who was in a bit of a photo finish to the checkered flag on the final lap to another in the MX5 class. The winner of that little drag race was Sarah Dove. So tell us about that from your perspective.
Well, it's kind of surprising for me because Travis was consistently better through the bus stop than I was, apart from in the last lap. So I didn't really expect that. But It was a good little run.
Fuel in these MX5 cars, not as thirsty as the other two bigger, faster classes, but any conservation needed?
You can. I think John Allen was able to go a lap further than everyone else because he saved so much. But because of where I was, I kind of lost the toe of the top guys, and then my little group, I lost the toe of them. So I didn't have any, so I had to use as much fuel as possible. And I think I finished like in the pit stop. I filled the tank again, and I finished with a few liters. So it was close if you didn't have any toe.
Well, from my memory, your first HJ event with us, are we likely to see you again if it suits?
Possibly. Maybe if it's a thing that's at a bit of a better time, because I signed up, but I didn't actually check what time it was until earlier today, and then I was like, oh, it starts at, and like the session opens at 11. Oh, okay. So it's a bit surprising. So it's a bit late for me, but if there's any other events that aren't quite as late, I might see if they're good for me.
Well, congrats on that fifth place and another cracking battle for us to watch to the end of the race. Anyone you would like to thank on HJBC?
Uh, my team that I didn't have a team paint for. I usually run with the AR people, but we don't have a paint, so I've got the standard Miku paint. But thanks to them for giving me cars sometime.
Well, there we go. Thank you so much. Move on now and speak to the first of our the TCR runners that we're going to have a chance to speak to. Aaron, Brandon Hawken came home in second and only just.
Brandon, thanks for joining us in the booth, sir. Talk us about your night. It was really fun watching this TCR group. It was almost kind of a NASCAR race in a way. Lots of bumper to bumper driving, a lot of drafting. What was some strategy early on? Because it didn't look like you guys were pushing too hard. Didn't look like you wanted positions too bad. What was it like for probably the first 30 to 40 minutes of this race? Is kind of riding in line.
Well, hey, Aaron. Yeah. For the most part, we were just trying to save gas. I think we were we didn't know a few of us didn't want to be the lead car because like of how valuable the pit stop time is. So we were just kind of hanging back and like getting the draft down the straightaway, but staying behind the car in front so we could kind of pull away from the group behind and save gas at the same time. And then the second run, it was kind of like all bets are off, I guess, because yeah, once we got spread out a little bit, yeah, there wasn't too much as far as fuel saving goes.
It was a lot of fun watching the TCR on this track. I think it's a lot of us. It's the first time we've seen it. A lot of probably the first time you guys have driven it. Where is this TCR four wheel drive car strong here, and where is it weak?
I think it's it's a different car for sure. Yeah, it's a like you, it's a little bit loose under braking, and then when you get on the gas, of course, it's completely different from a rear-wheel drive car. How like it's you basically have to drive it the opposite as you would a rear-wheel drive car. But yeah, still a ton of fun to drive and even more fun to race because you just like everybody's so tight and there's not too much you can do to this setup, so everybody's pretty much on a level playing field, and especially at Daytona when you got the draft, although pretty much the entire track, it makes for some really exciting racing.
Yeah, let's talk about that draft. Just one more here. When you guys are in line and you hit the tri-oval, start finish line, we hear you slap it on the limiter. How much more gear do you need in order to get an extra 10 miles an hour on this car?
Oh yeah, need a little bit. Yeah, I think topped out around like 151, and then it's just bouncing off the limiter like crazy. So yeah, if we could, I don't know if there was just a little bit more gearing. I think some maybe a little bit more passing would have happened up front because but I'm actually kind of glad there wasn't because yeah, there's just a lot of chaos that can happen when you have such a huge run. So yeah, it's a decent gear, I think.
Well, Brandon, we really enjoyed watching your race tonight. The fantastic battle between Jack, Simon, and yourself. You guys are really going back and forth. Gave us a good show up here in the booth, and I'm sure everybody watching enjoyed it as well. Thanks for coming out for our Roar event tonight. Any thanks or shout outs before you head out of the booth?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you guys for hosting it because yeah, it filled the void for sure. The Roar is one of my favorite events of the year, so I'm glad you guys could host it and we could have a really good race. And yeah, congrats to Jack on the win and Simon. We had a great battle too, and all my teammates at Movano Racing. And yeah, like thank you.
Well, we appreciate you having you, David. Looks like you have grabbed one other person that we can talk to tonight. Who do you have down there?
Yeah, one of our MX5 runners. We've got Clifford Eben, Big C, as I guess you're sometimes known. Tell us about the race from your perspective there, my man.
It was a lot of fun at the beginning, just kind of forming up, and our top 4 group broke away from the rest of the MX5 pack. But then as the lap traffic started coming in, stuff started to get a little dicey, and I got tagged into the bus stop and was forced to cut it because otherwise I was just going to slide in front of everybody coming through. So I had to take the slowdown penalty, and I kind of lost my lead 3, but some attrition and some other things got me 3rd place in the end, so I will take it.
Well, you do get 3rd place in the end there, and John D. Allen, very aggressive with his fuel fill, not able to make it on one stop. You were, but how close was it without too much trouble?
I had 1 lap to spare. Looks like some people were getting a little impatient because the fueling took like over a minute, and then I had to go to a second can to add fuel, so there was a little bit of a pause there. And looks like some people just got a little impatient, but I decided to just wait it out because what did I have to lose? And it paid off in the end. I gained a spot on Travis, but he had some bad luck, so I will take it.
Aaron, you won't jump in there because I've got some connection issues.
That's right. Yeah, well, Clifford, again, man, we really appreciate you coming out, and again, we're so glad we could get you here in the Roar for the HJ group, and I think we all miss this series a lot. We always miss this race. We always look forward to it. Did you have fun out there tonight? I assume.
Absolutely, it was a blast. Thank you guys for putting it on.
Well, hey man, thanks for coming out, and again, if we need to, darn it, we'll do it again next year. So, Clifford, any thanks or shout out before you head out of the booth?
Like I said, just thanks to you guys for the race and, of course, the awesome broadcast, and my team, Asbury Motorsports, Travis Schwenke, John D. Allen helping out as well. It was a great race. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Clifford. David, are you with me, or have you fallen out of the booth entirely? We all miss you very much. Please
I
come
think
back.
I'm back. Yeah. Don't need to put my name on. Don't need to put my face on a milk crate just yet. Well, thank you to all of those competitors that found the time to speak with us. Thanks for all of them that raced, and thanks to everyone who tuned in to the HJ Raw before the 24. As some said, fills the void of this racing that we love. Thank you so much for tuning in. Do subscribe to us here, Team Huge Ass. Lots of exciting racing coming in this coming year of all sorts, from the Champ Car iRacing series to our own car in Champ Car Endurance series and other broadcasts, and no doubt more HJ events. So from me, from our producer Kyle Smith, from Aaron Thacker, and everyone at Team Huge Ass, thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.